The healing by the recognition of the rights of the chosen one. Al-Shifā by Qadi Iyad. Died 1149 CE. Translation by Muhammad Al-Amrani. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful, and in him do I place my trust. The jurist, the judge, the imam, the hadith master Abul Fadl, Iyad ibn Musa ibn Iyad al-Yahsub, may God be well pleased with him and grant him his goodly acceptance, said, "All praise is due to God, he who is witnessed through his unique name, the One who is loftiest in exaltation, the one set apart in the dominion of an invincible sovereignty, in jealous protection, the one beyond whom there is no ultimate boundary, and behind whom there is no further goal to be sought, the manifest, yet not as a thing imagined or guessed, and the hidden, yet in sanctity, not in non-existence. He embraces all things in mercy and in knowledge, 40. And he bestows, in full measure, vast blessings upon his friends. And he raised among them a messenger from among themselves, 164, for Arab and non-Arab alike. And he made him the purest of them in glory and munificence, the weightiest of them in reason and forbearance, the richest of them in knowledge and understanding, the most upright of them in certitude and resolve, and the most tender-hearted of them through him in compassion and mercy. And he refined him in spirit and in body, and guarded him from blemish and stain. And he granted him wisdom and sound judgment, and through him he opened eyes that had been blind, and hearts that had been veiled, and ears that had been deaf. Thus whoever believes in him honours him, and helps him, 48:9. For such a one God has made a share in the spoils of felicity. But whoever denies him and turns away from his signs, upon such a one God has written wretchedness as an inescapable decree. And whoever is blind in this world shall be blind in the life to come, 1772. May God bless him and grant him peace with a blessing that ever grows and rises in honour, and may he bestow perfect peace upon his family. To proceed, may God illumine my heart and your heart with the lights of certainty, and may he show gentleness to me and to you with the same gentleness he has shown to his God-conscious friends, those whom God has ennobled by the descent of his holiness, and made them estranged from mere created things through intimacy with him, those whom he has singled out through knowledge of him and the beholding of the wonders of his dominion and the traces of his power, until their hearts were filled with bewildered awe, and their minds were made to sway in wonder before his majesty, so that they made their whole concern one concern, him alone, and they saw none, in this world or the next, as truly beheld, but him. Thus, by witnessing his beauty and his majesty, they find delight, and amid the signs of his power and the marvels of his greatness, they move to and fro. And by cutting themselves off to him and placing their trust in him, they find might, and they remain constant in the truth of his saying, "Say God," and then leave them to play in their vain discourse. 91. For you have repeated your question in a compiled request. It comprises a defining of the rank of the chosen one. Upon him be blessings and peace. What is due to him of reverence and honouring? And what is the ruling concerning one who is not granted success in fulfilling what is obligatory, or who falls short with regard to his lofty station? May such a one be exposed and made manifest. And you ask that I gather for you what our leading scholars have said on this matter, together with the relevant passages, and that I guide you through revealed exemplars and likenesses. Know then, may God have mercy upon you, that you have laid upon me in this a weighty matter. You have burdened me with hardship in what you have asked me to undertake, and you have made me climb by what you have charged me with, a difficult ascent that has filled my heart with dread. For speech on this subject calls for the firm establishing of foundations, the precise setting out of chapters, and the unveiling of subtle depths and fine points from the science of realities. What is obligatory for the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, and what is ascribed to him, and what is impossible with respect to him, and what is permissible for him. And it requires knowledge of prophet and messenger, of messengership and prophethood, of love and intimate friendship, and of the distinctive qualities of this exalted degree. These are, in this place, desolate expanses in which even the sand-grouse would lose its way, paths where steps grow short, wildernesses where minds go astray, if they are not guided by a known mark of knowledge, a steady gaze and careful discernment, places where feet slip unless they rely upon God's granting of success and his confirming aid. Yet, because I have hoped, both for myself and for you, in this question and its answer, for gift and reward, and for making known his immense worth and his tremendous character, and for setting out those qualities of his which have never before gathered together in any created being, and for what one owes to God Most High in acknowledging his due, since it is the loftiest of all dues, and because of God's word, so that those who were given the book might attain certainty, and that those who have attained faith might grow yet more in faith. 74:31. And because God Most High has taken a covenant from those who were given the book, that you shall indeed make it clear to humankind, and not conceal it. 187. And because Abul Walad related to us, Hisham ibn Ahmad al-Faqih, may God have mercy upon him, by my reading to him, saying, Al-Husayn ibn Muhammad related to us, Abu Umar al-Tamr related to us, Abu Muhammad ibn Abd al-Mu'min related to us, Abu Bakr Muhammad ibn Bakr related to us, Sulaiman ibn al-Ashath related to us, Musa ibn Ismail related to us, Hamad related to us. Alu ibn al-Hakam informed us from Atta, from Abu Huraira, who said, God's messenger, may God bless him and grant him peace, said, Whoever is asked about knowledge and conceals it, God will bridle him with a bridle of fire on the day of resurrection. I hasten to set down a subtle point that unveils the purpose and leads to that obligatory due, snatching it in haste, for a person is ever beset by the preoccupations of body and wealth, and by as much of the trials of affliction as human capacity can bear. And these very trials nearly distract him from every obligation and every supererogatory act, and cast him down, after a sound and upright forming, into the lowest of low. For if God willed good for a human being, he would make his toil and his whole concern revolve around that which he will be praised for tomorrow, or blamed for. A resting place? There is, in the end, nothing but the presence of bliss, or the punishment of the blaze. Yet the person must take up his own portion, the spending of his very soul, righteous deeds by which he increases, and beneficial knowledge that profits him, or that he acquires. May God mend the fractures of our hearts, forgive the enormity of our sins, make all our readiness a readiness for our return, gather our motives into what will deliver us, draw us near to him in nearness, and cover us with his favour, his generosity, and his mercy. And when I resolved to bring it near, and arranged its sections, and laid down its foundations, and interwove its details, and traced a clear path for its presentation and attainment, I entitled it, Defining the Rights of the Chosen One, and I confined its discourse to 4 divisions. The first division, on magnifying, with the highest reverence, the rank of this chosen prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, in word and in deed. And the discourse therein is directed into 4 chapters. The first chapter, on God's praise of him and his making, manifests the greatness of his worth with him, and it contains 10 sections. The second chapter on God's perfecting in him the beautiful qualities, outward form and inward character, and his gathering together in him all the religious and worldly excellences in a harmonious order, and it contains 27 sections. The third chapter, on what has come in sound reports and their well-known narrations concerning the greatness of his rank with his Lord and his station, and what he singled him out for in both abodes of his honouring, and it contains 12 sections. The fourth chapter, on the signs and miracles that God Most High made manifest at his hands, and the distinctive gifts and honours by which he ennobled him, and it contains 30 sections. The second division, on what humankind owes of his rights, upon him be peace. And the discourse therein is arranged into 4 chapters. The first chapter, on the obligation of faith in him, and the duty of obeying him and following his sunnah, and it contains 5 sections. The second chapter, on the necessity of loving him and sincerely counselling for his sake, and it contains 6 sections. The third chapter, on exalting his command and the necessity of revering him and treating him with filial devotion, and it contains 7 sections. The fourth chapter, on the ruling of sending blessings and peace upon him, the obligation of that and its merit, and it contains 10 sections. The third division, on what is impossible with respect to him, what is legally permissible for him, and what is precluded, yet may validly be ascribed to him, of the matters of human nature. And this division, may God honour you, is the secret of the book, and the very kernel of the fruit of these chapters. What precedes it is, in relation to it, like foundations, preparations, and proofs for the subtle points and clear demonstrations we shall bring therein. And it governs what comes after it, and fulfills the promise and purpose for which this work was composed. When it is pursued to its end, and when one has discharged its obligation, the breast of the accursed enemy is constricted, while the heart of the believer is expanded with certainty. Its lights fill the inmost spaces of his breast, and the discerning person comes to know the prophet's due measure. And the discourse therein is set out in 2 chapters. The first chapter, on that which pertains to matters of religion, and wherein the discussion is anchored in the doctrine of protection from error, and it contains 16 sections. The second chapter, on his worldly states and what may occur to him of the incidental features of human life, and it contains 9 sections. The fourth division, on how legal rulings apply to whoever disparages him or reviles him, upon him be peace. And the discourse therein is divided into 2 chapters. The first chapter, clarifying what constitutes, with respect to him, revilement and deficiency, whether by insinuation or by explicit statement, and it contains 10 sections. The second chapter, on the ruling concerning one who shows enmity toward him, harms him or diminishes him, and his punishment, and mention of calling him to repentance, and the prayer over him and his inheritance, and it contains 10 sections. And we concluded with a third chapter, which we made a completion of this inquiry and a connective clarification to what came before it, in the ruling concerning whoever reviles God Most High, his messengers, his angels, and his books, and concerning the family of the Prophet and his companions, may God bless him and grant him peace. And I abridged the discourse therein into 5 sections. With their completion, the book is brought to its end, the divisions and chapters are concluded, and there shines forth, in the dawn of faith, a luminous gleam, and upon the crown of headings a precious pearl. It removes every confusion, makes plain every conjecture and surmise, heals the breasts of believing people, 9:14, proclaims the truth, and turns away from the ignorant, 199. And by God Most High, there is no deity but Him, I seek help. The first division on magnifying, with the highest reverence, the rank of this chosen prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, in word and in deed, the jurist, the judge, the Imam Abul Fadl, may God have mercy upon him, said, "It is not hidden from anyone who has practiced any part of knowledge or been granted even the slightest glimmer of understanding, that God Most High has magnified the rank of our prophet. Upon him be blessings and peace, and singled him out with merits, beauties, and noble qualities that cannot be exhaustively contained, and that he has proclaimed his great worth in ways before which tongues and pens fall short. Among these are what he has stated explicitly in his book, what he has drawn attention to as the grandeur of his station, what he has praised in him of his character and his comportment, and how he has urged his servants to commit themselves to it and to follow what it makes binding. Thus, glory be to him, he is the one who first bestowed and favoured. Then he made manifest and raised. Then he praised and lauded. Then he rewarded him with the fullest requital. Hence, to him belongs the favour in its beginning and its return, and to him belongs praise in the first and in the last. And among these are what he brought forth for all to see in his created nature, in the most complete forms of perfection and majesty, and how he set him apart with beautiful excellencies, praiseworthy virtues, noble ways, and abundant merits, and how he strengthened him with dazzling miracles and clear proofs, and with evident gifts of grace, witnessed by those who lived in his time, and by those who came after and attained him, and established, through them, certain knowledge for those who followed later, until the true knowledge of all that reached us, and his lights overflowed upon us. May God bless him and grant him peace, again and again. And the judge, the martyr, Abu Ali al-Hussein ibn Muhammad, the hadith master, may God have mercy upon him, related to us by my reading to him. He said, Abu al-Hussein al-Mubarak ibn Abd al-Jabbar related to us, and Abu al-Fadl Ahmad ibn Khayrun Ega as well. They said, Abu Ya'la al-Baghdad related to us. He said, Abu Ali al-Sanj related to us. He said, Muhammad ibn Ahmad ibn Mahbub related to us. He said, Abu Asa ibn Surah, the hadith master, related to us. He said, Ishaq ibn Mansur related to us. He said, Abd al-Razak related to us. He said, Mama informed us from Qatada, from Anas, that the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, was brought al-Burak on the night when he was taken on the night journey, bridled and saddled, but it proved difficult for him. Thereupon Gabriel said to it, Is it Muhammad that you do this to? No one more honoured before God Most High than he has ever ridden you. Anas said, and it broke into sweat. The first chapter, on God's praise of him and his making manifest the greatness of his worth with him. Know that in God's mighty book there are many verses explicit and abundant, in which the Chosen One is mentioned with beautiful remembrance. His excellences are counted, his cause is magnified, and his rank is raised high. From these we have relied on what is clear in meaning and evident in import, and we have gathered it into 10 sections. The first section, among what comes in the manner of praise and commendation, and the enumeration of noble qualities, is his saying, Exalted is he. There has indeed come unto you an apostle from among your own selves. Grievous to him is all that you may suffer, full of concern for you, and towards the believers most compassionate, most merciful. 9:128. Al-Samarkand said, Some recited it from among yourselves, with the fay vowelled in the fath, while the recitation of the majority is with the dam. The judge, the Imam Abul Fadl, may God have mercy upon him, said, God Most High has made known to the believers, or to the Arabs, or to the people of Makkah, or to all people according to the differing views of the exegetes, by addressing them in this way, that he has raised among them a messenger from among themselves, one whom they know, whose standing they recognize, whose truthfulness and trustworthiness they already understand. Thus they do not accuse him of lying, nor of withholding sincere counsel from them, since he is of them. And there was no tribe among the Arabs but that it had with God's messenger, may God bless him and grant him peace, either kinship by birth or kinship by blood. And with Ibn Abbas and others, the meaning is akin to his saying, Exalted is he. I ask of you no reward for it, save love for those near of kin. 42:23. That is, that he is of the noblest among them, the loftiest among them, and the best among them, according to the reading with the Fath. This is the very summit of praise. Then he described him thereafter with praiseworthy attributes, and lauded him with many forms of commendation, in that he is ardently intent on their guidance, their right-mindedness, and their safety, in that he is deeply troubled by whatever causes them hardship, and in that he cares for them in their worldly life and their life to come, and in that their suffering is hard upon him, and in that he is gentle and merciful toward them. Some have said God gave him two names from among his own names, most compassionate, most merciful. And like it is the other verse, his saying, Exalted is he. Indeed, God has bestowed a great favour upon the believers in that he raised among them an apostle from among themselves, to convey unto them his messages, and to cause them to grow in purity, and to impart unto them the book and wisdom, whereas before that they had indeed been lost in obvious error. 164. And in another verse, He it is who raised among the unlettered a messenger from among themselves, to convey unto them his messages, and to cause them to grow in purity, and to impart unto them the book and wisdom, whereas before that they had indeed been lost in obvious error. 62. And his saying, Exalted is he. Even as we have sent unto you an apostle from among yourselves, to convey unto you our messages, and to cause you to grow in purity, and to impart unto you the book and wisdom, and to teach you that which you did not know. 151. And it is related from ibn Abi Talib, may God's blessings be upon him, regarding his saying, Exalted is he, from among your own selves. He said, In lineage and in marriage ties and in noble descent. Among my forefathers, from Adam onward, there was no fornication. All of us were born in lawful wedlock. And from Ibn Abbas, regarding his saying, Exalted is he, and your turning among those who prostrate themselves. 26:2-19. He said, From prophet to prophet, until he brought you forth as a prophet. And Ja'far ibn Muhammad said, God knew the inability of his creation to obey him, and so he made them recognize that, so that they might know that they cannot reach the purest devotion in serving him. Therefore he placed between them and him a creature like them in form, clothed him with the attribute of tenderness and mercy, and sent him forth among creation as a truthful envoy. And he made obedience to him, obedience to himself, and compliance with him, compliance with himself. Thus he said, Exalted is he. Whoever obeys the messenger has indeed obeyed God. 80. And God, exalted is he, also said, And we have not sent thee but as a mercy unto all the worlds. 21:117. Abu Bakr ibn Tahir said, God, exalted is he, adorned Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace with the very nature of mercy. Thus his very being was mercy, and all his qualities and traits were mercy toward creation. Whoever is touched by something of his mercy is the one saved in both abodes from every detested thing, and the one who attains, through it, in both abodes every sought-after good. Beloved one, do you not see that God Most High says, "And we have not sent thee but as a mercy unto all the worlds"? 21:107. Thus his life was mercy, and his passing was mercy. As he, upon him be peace, said, "My life is a good for you, and my death is a good for you." And as he, upon him be blessings and peace, said, "When God wills mercy for a community, he takes its prophet before it, and he makes him for it one who goes ahead and one who has already gone before." Al-Samarkand, may God have mercy upon him, said, "A mercy unto all the worlds" means humankind and jinn. And it is said for all creation, mercy for the believer through guidance, mercy for the hypocrite through safety from being slain, and mercy for the disbeliever through the postponement of punishment. Ibn Abbas, may God be pleased with them both, said, "He is mercy for believers and disbelievers alike, for they were spared what befell other communities who denied the truth." 8. And it is related that the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, said to Gabriel, "Upon him be peace. Has any part of this mercy reached you?" He replied, "Yes. I used to fear the outcome, but I was made secure by God's praise, mighty and majestic, when he said, 'Endowed with power, secure with him who is enthroned on high, one to be obeyed and faithful.'" In 81:20-21. And it is related from Jafar ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq regarding his saying, "Exalted is he, and peace unto thee from among the companions of the right hand." 56:91. That is, because of you. Their being greeted with peace came about only on account of the honouring of Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace. And God, exalted is he, said, "God is the light of the heavens and the earth. The parable of his light is as a niche wherein is a lamp. The lamp is in a glass. The glass is as though it were a radiant star, lit from a blessed tree, an olive neither of the east nor of the west, whose oil would almost glow forth even if no fire touched it, light upon light. God guides unto his light whom he wills, and God sets forth parables for humankind, and God has full knowledge of all things." 24:35. Ka'b and Ibn Jubayr said, "What is meant by the second light here is Muhammad. Upon him be peace. And his saying, 'Exalted is he.' The parable of his light means the light of Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace." And Sal ibn Abdullah said, "The meaning is, God is the guide of the inhabitants of the heavens and the earth." Then he said, the parable of the light of Muhammad, when it was deposited in loins, like a niche, described as such and such. And by the lamp he meant his heart, and by the glass his breast, as though it were a radiant star, by virtue of what it contains of faith and wisdom. Lit from a blessed tree means from the light of Abraham. And he gave the parable by the blessed tree. And his saying, "Its oil would almost glow," means the prophethood of Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace, was almost about to become clear to people even before his speech, like this oil. And other things have been said regarding this verse. And God knows best. And God, exalted is he, has named him elsewhere in the Qur'an a light and a lamp giving light. Thus he said, "Exalted is he. There has now come unto you from God a light and a clear book." 15. And he said, "Exalted is he, O Prophet. Behold, we have sent thee as a witness, and as a bearer of glad tidings, and as a warner, and as one who calls unto God by his leave, and as a lamp that gives light." 33:45-46. And of this is his saying, "Exalted is he. Have we not expanded for thee thy breast, and lifted from thee thy burden, the burden that weighed down thy back. And have we not raised high for thee thy renown? For indeed with hardship comes ease, indeed with hardship comes ease. Hence, when thou art free, labour hard, and unto thy sustainer turn with longing. 94:8. To expand means to widen, and what is meant by the breast here is the heart. Ibn Abbas said he expanded it through Islam, and Sahl said through the light of the message, and Al-Hasan said he filled it with wisdom and knowledge, and it is said its meaning is, have we not purified your heart so that whisperings do not swerve you, and lifted from thee thy burden, the burden that weighed down thy back? It is said this means what preceded of your sin, meaning before prophethood. And it is said he meant the weight of the days of ignorance. And it is said he meant what weighed upon him of the message until he conveyed it. This is related by Al-Mawad and Al-Sulam. And it is said we protected you. For had it not been so, sins would have weighed down your back. This is related by Al-Samarkand. And have we not raised high for thee thy renown? Yahya ibn Adam said, by prophethood. And it is said, when you are mentioned, I am mentioned with you. In the saying, there is no deity but God. Muhammad is God's messenger. And it is said, in the call to prayer. The jurist, the judge Abul Fadl, may God have mercy upon him, said, this is God, majestic is his name, making firm for his prophet, upon him be peace, the greatness of his gifts to him, the nobility of his station with him, and the honour bestowed upon him, that he expanded his heart for faith and guidance, widened it to bear knowledge, made him carry wisdom, lifted from him the heaviness of the ways of ignorance, and his aversion to their path. And what those ways had been, by making his religion prevail over all religion. And that he removed from him the obligation of bearing the burdens of messengership and prophethood by conveying to people what was sent down unto them, and that he raised him by his tremendous standing and lofty rank, and that he lifted his renown, and that he joined his name to his own name. Qatada said, God raised his renown in this world and in the next. There is no preacher, no public gathering, no person at prayer, but that he says, I bear witness that there is no deity but God, and that Muhammad is God's messenger. 9. And Abu Sa'ad al-Khudr related that the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, said, Gabriel, upon him be peace, came to me and said, my Lord and your Lord says, do you know how I raised your renown? I said, God and his messenger know best. He said, when I am mentioned, you are mentioned with me. Ibn Atta said, I made the completion of faith to lie in my being mentioned together with you. And he also said, I made you a remembrance from among my remembrance. Whoever mentions you has mentioned me. And Ja'far ibn Muhammad al-Sadiq said, no one mentions you with messengership except that he mentions me with lordship. Some have hinted here as well at the matter of intercession. And among his joining his mention with his own, exalted is he, is that he coupled obedience to the messenger with obedience to himself, and coupled his name with his own name. Thus he said, exalted is he, and obey God and the messenger. 132. And believe in God and his messenger. 57. Thus he brought them together by the shared conjunction and such speech cannot rightly be gathered except regarding him. Upon him be peace. 10. The Shaykh Abu Ali al-Hussein ibn Muhammad al-Jian, the hadith master, related to us as part of his authorization, and by our reading to him from a reliable transmitter, who said Abu Omar al-Tamr related to us, Abu Muhammad ibn Abd al-Mu'min related to us, Abu Bakr ibn Dasa related to us, Abu Dawud al-Sijistan related to us, Abu al-Walad Al-Tayalis related to us, Shu'bah related to us, from Mansur, from Abdullah ibn Yasar, from Hudayfa, from the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, who said, "None of you should say what God wills and what so-and-so wills. It rather say what God wills, then what so-and-so wills." Al-Khattab said, "He, may God bless him and grant him peace, guided them to proper adab in placing God Most High's will before the will of anyone else, and to choosing then, which is for sequence and delay, unlike and, which suggests association. 11. And like it is the other report that a preacher preached in the presence of the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, and said, "Whoever obeys God and his messenger has indeed been rightly guided, and whoever disobeys them both." Thereupon the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, said to him, "What a wretched preacher of the people you are! Rise." Or he said, "Go." Abu Sulayman said he only disliked his joining the two names by a single pronoun because of what it implies of levelling them. Others held that he only disliked his stopping at disobeys them both. 12. And Abu Sulayman's view is sounder, in light of what is related in the authentic hadith, and whoever disobeys them both has gone astray, without mentioning a pause at disobeys them both. The exegetes and the scholars of meaning have differed concerning his saying, "Exalted is he. Indeed, God and his angels bless the Prophet." 33:56. Is "they bless" to be referred back to God Most High and the angels together, or not? Some permitted it, while others forbade it, due to the implication of association, and they reserved the pronoun for the angels, and they interpreted the verse as God blesses and his angels bless. 13. And it is related from Umar, may God be pleased with him, that he said, "Among your merits with God is that he has made obedience to you obedience to him." Thus he, exalted is he, said, "Whoever obeys the messenger has indeed obeyed God." 80. And he, exalted is he, also said, "Say, if you love God, follow me, and God will love you and forgive you your sins. For God is much forgiving, a dispenser of grace. Say, obey God and the messenger. And if they turn away, then behold, God does not love the disbelievers." 31:32. 14. And it is related that when this verse came down, they said, "Muhammad wishes to be taken with tender devotion, as the Christians took Jesus." Then God Most High sent down, "Say, obey God and the messenger." 32. Thus he coupled his obedience with his own obedience, despite what they disliked. And the exegetes have differed concerning the meaning of his saying, "Exalted is he," in the mother of the book. "Guide us on the straight way, the way of those upon whom thou hast bestowed thy favour." Abul Aliya and Al-Hasan al-Basr said, "The straight way is God's messenger. May God bless him and grant him peace, together with the best of his household and his companions." Abul Hasan al-Maward related this from them, and Maki related something similar and said, "He is God's messenger. May God bless him and grant him peace, and his two companions, Abu Bakr and Umar, may God be pleased with them both." Abu Layth al-Samarkand related something like it from Abul Aliya as well. He said, Al-Hasan reached this, and he said, "He spoke the truth by God and gave sincere counsel." And Al-Maward related in his exegesis of the way of those upon whom thou hast bestowed thy favour from Abd al-Rahman ibn Zayd. And Abu Abd al-Rahman al-Sulam related from some of them in explaining his saying, "Exalted is he. Whoever holds fast to the firmest bond, never to be broken, seeing that God is all-hearing, all-knowing." 256 that it is Muhammad, upon him be peace, and it is said it is Islam, and it is said the testimony of God's oneness. And Sal said regarding his saying, exalted is he, and should you try to count God's blessings, you could never compute them. 16:18. He said, his blessing is Muhammad, upon him be peace. And God, exalted is he, said, and he who brings the truth, and he who confirms it as true, such are the God-conscious. With their sustainer there shall be for them whatever they may desire. This is the reward of those who do good. 39:33-34. Most exegetes hold that the one who brings the truth is Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace. And some of them said it means, and he is the one who confirmed it as true. And it has also been recited, Sadaqah, with a lightened form. Others said it means the one who confirmed it as true are the believers. And it was said it is Abu Bakr, and it was said it is Al. And other statements besides these have also been reported. 15. And from Mujahid regarding his saying, exalted is he. Behold, in the remembrance of God do hearts find rest. 13:28. He said, by Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace, and his companions. The second section. On his describing him, exalted is he, with bearing witness, and what is connected with it of praise and honour God, exalted is he, says, O Prophet, truly we have sent you as a witness, and as a bearer of glad tidings, and as a warner, and as one who calls to God by his leave, and as a lamp giving light. 33:45-46. God, exalted is he, has gathered in this verse various ranks from among the ranks of the hereafter, and an entire cluster of laudatory descriptions. Thus he made him a witness over his community in conveying to them the message. And this is among his distinctive gifts, upon him be peace. And he made him a bearer of glad tidings for those who obey, and a warner to those who disobey, and one who calls to the oneness of God and to worshipping him, and a luminous lamp by which people are guided to the truth. 16. Sheikh Abu Muhammad ibn Attab, may God have mercy upon him, related to us. He said, Abul Qasim Hatim ibn Muhammad related to us. Abul Hasan al-Qabis related to us. Abu Zayd al-Muzuz related to us. Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Yusuf related to us. Al-Bukhari related to us. Muhammad ibn related to us. Sufyan related to us. Fudayj related to us. Hilal related to us from Atta ibn Yasar, who said, I met Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, and I said, tell me about the description of God's messenger. May God bless him and grant him peace. He said, yes, by God he is indeed described in the Torah by some of what is his description in the Qur'an. O Prophet, truly we have sent you as a witness and as a bearer of glad tidings and as a warner. 33:45. You are my servant and my messenger. I have named you the one who places his trust in God. You are not harsh, nor hard-hearted, nor loud in the marketplaces, and you do not repel evil with evil, but rather you pardon and forgive. And God will not take him unto himself until by him he has set upright the crooked community, so that they may say, there is no deity but God, and so that by him he may open eyes that were blind, and ears that were deaf, and hearts that were veiled. 17. And a report like it has also been mentioned from Abdullah ibn Salam. 18. And from Ka'b al-Ahbar as well. 19. And in some of its chains from Ibn Ishaq. He is not loud in the marketplaces, nor coarse in speech. He does not say what is shameful. His desire is for every beautiful trait. God has endowed him with every noble character, and he has made serenity his garment, and righteousness his emblem, and God-consciousness his inner secret. and wisdom his discourse, and truthfulness and loyalty his nature, and forgiveness and kindness his character, and justice his way, and truth his law, and guidance his leader, and Islam his creed. I named him Ahmad. By him I guide after misguidance, and teach after ignorance, and raise after lowliness, and I make him renowned after obscurity, and I increase by him after scarcity, and I enrich by him after poverty, and I gather by him after division, and I reconcile by him hearts that differ, and desires that are scattered, and communities that are sundered, and I make his community the best community brought forth for humankind. 110. 20. And in another report, God's messenger, may God bless him and grant him peace, told us of his description in the Torah. My servant Ahmad, the chosen one, born in Makkah, and his migration is to Medina. Good is his community. Or he said, a goodly community, ever praising God in every state. And God, exalted is he, says, those who follow the messenger, the unlettered prophet, whom they find written down with them in the Torah and the Gospel, he enjoins upon them what is right, and forbids them what is wrong. And he makes lawful for them all that is wholesome, and forbids them all that is foul. And he lifts from them their burden, and the shackles that were upon them. Hence, those who believe in him, and honour him, and help him, and follow the light that has been sent down with him, it is they who shall attain to a happy state. Say, O humankind, truly I am God's messenger to all of you. He unto whom belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth. There is no deity but he. He gives life and causes death. Believe then in God and his messenger, the unlettered prophet, who believes in God and his words, and follow him so that you may be rightly guided. 157, 158. And God, exalted is he, also says, and it was by God's mercy that you dealt gently with them. For if you had been harsh and hard of heart, they would indeed have dispersed from around you. Pardon them then, and pray for their forgiveness, and take counsel with them in the conduct of affairs. And when you have resolved, place your trust in God. Surely God loves those who place their trust in him. 159. Al-Samarkand said, God has reminded them of his favour in that he made his messenger merciful toward the believers, gentle, tender, and that if he had been harsh in speech, they would have dispersed from around him. But God, exalted is he, made him gracious and easy-going, gentle and kind. Thus said Al-Dahak. And God, exalted is he, says, and thus we have made you a community of the middle way, so that you might bear witness to humankind, and the messenger might bear witness to you. 143. Abul Hasan al-Qabisa said, God, exalted is he, has made manifest the merit of our prophet. May God bless him and grant him peace, and the merit of his community by this verse, and by his saying in the other verse, so that the messenger might bear witness to you, and you might bear witness to humankind. 22:78. And likewise by his saying, exalted is he. How will it be then, when we shall bring forth from every community a witness, and bring you forth as a witness against those? 41. And his saying, exalted is he, of the middle way, means just, best. And the meaning of this verse is, just as we guided you and singled you out, and favoured you by making you a just and best community, so that you may bear witness over the prophets, peace be upon them, regarding their communities, and so that the messenger may bear witness to you in truthfulness. 21. And it is said, when God, majestic is his glory, asks the prophets, has the message been delivered? They will say, yes. Then he will ask them, who bore witness for you? And they will say, no bearer of glad tidings and no warner came to us. Then the community of Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace, will bear witness for the prophets, and the prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, will declare them truthful. And it is said, the meaning of the verse is, you are a proof, each of you, over those you mix with, and the messenger is a proof over you. Thus related Al-Samarkand. And God, exalted is he, says, and give glad tidings to those who have attained faith, that with their sustainer there awaits them a sure footing of truth. 10. Qatada, Al-Hasan, and Zayd ibn Aslam said, a sure footing of truth is Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace, who will intercede for them. And Al-Hasan also said, it is their prophet among them. And Abu Sa'ad al-Khudr, may God be pleased with him, said, it is the intercession of their prophet Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace. He is the intercessor of truth with their sustainer. And Sal ibn Abdullah al-Tustar said, it is a mercy that preceded which God entrusted within Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace. And Muhammad ibn al-Tirmidh said, he is the Imam of the truthful and the veracious, the intercessor whose intercession is accepted, the one who is sought after and the one who is answered. Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace. Thus related from him by Al-Sulam. The third section concerning what has come in his address, by way of awakening attentive notice and clarifying insight. Among this is his saying, exalted is he, may God pardon you, why did you grant them leave? 943. Abu Muhammad Makki said, it is said that this is an opening of speech bearing the rank of, may God set you right, and may God grant you honour. And On ibn Abdullah said he informed him of pardon before informing him of sin. He said, had the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, begun by saying, why did you grant them leave? He would have feared that his heart might be constricted by the awesomeness of these words. But God, exalted is he, out of his mercy, began by telling him of pardon, until his heart became still. Then he said to him, why did you grant them leave? Until the truthful becomes clear to you from the liar. So, in this there is a tremendous indication of his rank with God, one that is hidden from none who possesses insight. And among his honouring and his treating him with kindness without the farthest end of it ever being exhausted is what was said, describing it, the heart's ligament. It was said some people went to the view that the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, was being reproached by this verse, and that there was within it something of that. Rather, he was being given a choice, for when he gave them leave, God, exalted is he, knew that had he not given them leave, they would have sat behind out of hypocrisy, and that he was under no hardship in giving them leave. The jurist, the Judge Abul Fadl, may God have mercy upon him, said, it is incumbent on the Muslim struggler, the one eager to uphold the law, to discipline himself with the Qur'an's adab in his speech, his deeds, and his addressing and conversing, for this is the very root of true insights, and the garden of religious and worldly courtesies. Let him reflect on this wondrous gentleness in questioning the Lord of all lords. He who has power over everything, who is independent of all, and let him perceive what benefits it contains, and how it begins with honour before reproach, and with intimacy through pardon before mentioning a fault, if a fault should follow. And God, exalted is he, says, had it not been for our strengthening you, you would almost have inclined to them a little. 1774. Some theologians said, God, exalted is he, reproached the prophets, peace be upon them, after slips, and reproached our prophet, upon him be peace, before they could occur, so that this might be the strongest in alerting him and the most safeguarding of the conditions of love, and this is the utmost limit of solicitude. Then look at how his steadfastness and safety are brought forward before the mention of what he was reproached for, and how he was made to fear leaning toward it while he remained innocent of it. and in this there is a comforting tenderness and an honouring. And like it is his saying, exalted is he. We know indeed that what they say grieves you, yet it is not you that they deny, but it is God's messages that the wrongdoers knowingly reject. Citan 33. Citan 22. All, may God be pleased with him, said, Abu Jahl said to the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace. We do not call you a liar, but we deny what you have come with. So God, exalted is he, sent down, yet it is not you that they deny, but it is God's messages that the wrongdoers knowingly reject. 33. 23. And it is related that when the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, was grieved because his people denied him, Gabriel, upon him be peace, came to him and said, What grieves you? He said, My people have denied me. He said, They know that you are truthful. So God, exalted is he, sent down this verse. In this verse there is a subtle consolation, a tender soothing from God. Exalted is he, to him, upon him be peace, and a strengthening for him in what he proclaims, namely, that it is established with them that he is truthful in their sight, and that they are not declaring him false. Rather, they acknowledge his truthfulness in speech and in conviction. And they used to call him, before prophethood, the trustworthy. He repelled by this affirmation their calling him a liar. Then he made them, through their own naming, defiant wrongdoers, and said, Exalted is he. But it is God's messages that the wrongdoers knowingly reject. 33. And he removed from him the blemish of falsehood, and branded them with obstinate enmity in denying the signs, in the very reality of their wrongdoing. For repudiation only comes after knowledge of a thing, and then denial of it. Thus his saying, Exalted is he, and they rejected them, even though their own selves were certain of them, out of wrongdoing and arrogance. 27:14. Then he strengthened him and consoled him by what he had mentioned of those before him, and by his promise of help in his saying, Exalted is he. Indeed, messengers before you were given the lie, but they endured with patience all that they were called to lie about, and all that they suffered, until our help came to them, for none can alter God's words. And there has indeed come to you something of the history of those messengers. The 34. Whoever reads it, they do not deny you with a lightened form. Then its meaning is, they do not find you to be a liar. And Al-Farah and Al-Kisa said, they do not say, you are a liar. And it is said, they do not accuse you of lying, nor do they regard you as such. And whoever reads it with a strengthened form, then its meaning is, they do not ascribe you to lying. And it is said, they do not believe you to be such. And among his distinctive honours, and God's vindicating him, is that God, exalted is he, addressed all the prophets by their names. Thus he said, Exalted is he, O Adam, O Noah, O Abraham, O Moses, O David, O Jesus, O Zechariah, O John. But he did not address him except with, O Messenger, O Prophet, O you who are wrapped up, O you who are cloaked. The fourth section, on his, exalted is he, taking an oath by the greatness of his worth God, exalted is he, says, by your life, truly they wander blindly in their drunkenness. 1572. The people of exegesis have agreed that this is an oath from God. Glorious is his majesty, by the span of the life of Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace. Its origin is the inclusion of the letter Ain from the word Umr, but it became common through frequent usage, and its meaning is, by your remaining, O Muhammad, and it is also said, by your living, and it is also said, by your life. This is the very summit of magnifying and the furthest reach of goodness and ennoblement. Ibn Abbas, may God be pleased with them both, said, God, exalted is He, has not created a soul, nor brought into being any being more honoured in His sight than Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace. And I have never heard God, exalted is He, take an oath by the life of anyone else. And Abul Jawza said, God, exalted is He, did not swear by the life of anyone other than Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace, because he is the most honoured of creation in His sight. And God, exalted is He, says, Yasin, by the wise Qur'an. 36. The exegetes have differed concerning the meaning of Yasin in several ways. 24. Thus Abu Muhammad Makki related, he attributed it to the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, that he said, I have with my Lord 10 names, and he mentioned among them Taha and Yasin. Thus it is a name of his. And Abu Abd al-Rahman al-Sulam related from Ja'far al-Sadiq, may God's mercy be upon him, that he said, it means, O Master, as an address to his Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace. And from Ibn Abbas, Yasin means, O human being, meaning Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace. And it was said, it is an oath, and it is among the names of God, exalted is He. And Al-Rajjaj said, it is said, its meaning is, O Muhammad, and it is said, O man, and it is said, O human being. And from Ibn al-Hanafiya, Yasin, O Muhammad. And from Ka'b, Yasin is an oath by which God, exalted is He, swore before He created the heavens and the earth in the Syriac tongue, O Muhammad, truly you are among the messengers. Then he said, by the wise Qur'an, truly you are among the messengers. 36. So if it is understood as being one of his names, may God bless him and grant him peace, and it is established that it is an oath, then it contains within it some of what has preceded of magnification, and the oath is reinforced by another oath being conjoined to it. And if the meaning is that it is a call, then an oath came after it to confirm his messengership and bear witness to his guidance. God swore, exalted is He, by His name and by His book, that He is among the messengers, one who calls to His worship and upon a straight path of faith, a way with no crookedness in it and no turning away from the truth. Al-Naqash said, God, exalted is He, did not swear in His book by the messengership of any of His prophets except for Him, and within this is magnifying Him and glorifying Him, according to the interpretation of whoever said that it means, O Master, and God knows best. 25. And He, upon him be peace, has said, I am the Master of the children of Adam, and I do not say this out of boastfulness. And God, exalted is He, says, I do swear by this city, while you dwell free within this city. 90. It was said, I do not swear by it, means, I do not swear by it if, after your departure from it, you are no longer dwelling therein. So related by Makki. And it was said, no is superfluous, meaning, I do swear by it. And you are free to dwell in this land, means, O Muhammad, you are lawful there, meaning permitted, or it is lawful for you to do there what you do. Thus it has been explained in both ways, and what is meant by the land, according to these scholars, is Makkah. Al-Wasit said, it means, we ennoble for you this land, which we have honoured by your dwelling in it, living, and by your being buried in it, dead, meaning Al-Madna. But the first is sounder, for the surah is Makkan, and what follows supports it, namely his saying, exalted is He, while you dwell free within this city. 90. And similar to it is the statement of Ibn Atta, in explaining his saying, exalted is He, and this land secure. 95. He said, God, exalted is he, made it secure by his dwelling in it and by his being in it, for it became a place of safety wherever he was. Then God, exalted is he, said, and by the begetter and what he begets. 90. It was said he meant Adam, and thus it is general. And it was said he is Abraham, and what he begets is, God willing, an allusion to Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace. Thus the surah contains an oath by him, upon him be peace, in 2 places. And God, exalted is he, also said, Alif Lam Mim, this is the book, there is no doubt in it. Ibn Abbas said, these letters are oaths. God, exalted is he, swore by them. And others besides him have said likewise. And Sal ibn Abdullah al-Tustar said, the Alif is God, exalted is he, the Lam is Gabriel, and the Mem is Muhammad, peace be upon them both. Al-Samarkand related this statement, but did not ascribe it to Sal, and he gave its meaning as, God sent Gabriel down to Muhammad with this Qur'an, in which there is no doubt. And according to the first view, it can bear the sense of an oath, that this book is indeed free of doubt. Then among its merit is that he called it a Qur'an by his name, along the lines of what has preceded. And Ibn Atta said regarding his saying, exalted is he, Kaf, by the glorious Qur'an, 50, I swear by the strength of the heart of my beloved Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace, since it bore the weight of address and witnessing, and yet no exaltation in state affected it. And it was said, it is a name of the Qur'an, and it was said, it is a name of God, exalted is he. And it was said, it is a mountain that encompasses the earth. And other than this has been said as well. And Ja'far ibn Muhammad said in his exegesis, by the star when it falls. 53. It is Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace. And he said, the star is the heart of Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace. And when it falls means it was expanded by lights. And he said it means cut off from all but God. And Ibn Atta said regarding his saying, exalted is he by the dawn and 10 nights. 89. The dawn is Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace, because from him the dawn of faith breaks. The 5th section on his, exalted is he, swearing by him, so that his station with him may be made manifest. The exalted one said, by the bright morning light, and by the night when it grows still. Your sustainer has not forsaken you, nor does he hate you. And indeed, the life to come will be better for you than this first life. And your sustainer will surely give you, and you will be well pleased. Did he not find you an orphan, and give you shelter, and find you unaware of the way and guide you, and find you in need and make you self-sufficient? Therefore, as for the orphan, do not oppress him, and as for the one who asks, do not rebuff him, and as for your sustainer's blessing, proclaim it. 93:11. They differed regarding the cause for the revelation of this surah. 26. It was said, the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, had left the standing in prayer at night, and because of it this warning came down, and a woman spoke about that with some remark. 27. And it was said, rather the idolaters spoke about him during the interval of revelation, and so this surah was revealed. The jurist, the judge, the Imam Abul Fadl, may God have mercy upon him, said, this surah contains, among God's honouring of him, exalted is he, and his making his worth known, and his ennobling him, and his magnifying him, 6 aspects. The first, the oath by which he informed him of his state, through his saying, exalted is he, by the bright morning light, and by the night when it grows still. sanctified sambagut son nescantufim. Meaning, by the Lord of the morning light. And this is among the greatest degrees of uprightness. The second, making clear his standing with him and the greatness of his care for him, through his saying, Exalted is he. Your sustainer has not forsaken you, nor does he hate you. 93. That is, he has not left you nor disliked you, and it is said, he has not neglected you after having chosen you. The third, his saying, Exalted is he. And indeed, the life to come will be better for you than this first life. 93. Ibn Ishaq said, meaning, what is prepared for you in your ultimate return to God is greater than what he has given you of honor in this world. And Sal said, meaning, what I have stored up for you of intercession and the praise station is better for you than what I have given you in this world. The fourth, his saying, Exalted is he, and your sustainer will surely give you, and you will be well pleased. 93. This is a verse that gathers the faces of honor, the kinds of felicity and the signs of blessing in both abodes, indeed, and more besides. Ibn Ishaq said, he will make you well pleased by triumph in this world and by reward in the hereafter, and it is said, he will give him the pool and intercession. 28. And it is related from some of the Prophet's household that the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, said, there is no verse in the Qur'an more hopeful than it, and God's messenger will not be pleased that any one of his community should enter the fire. The fifth, what he enumerated of his favours upon him, and what he caused him to recognize before this in the remainder of the surah, from his guiding him to what he guided him to, or from his guiding people through him according to the differing interpretations, and from his having no wealth, and thus God enriching him by what he granted him, or by what he placed in his heart of contentment and richness, and from his being an orphan, and God nurturing him and giving him shelter with him. And it is said, he gave him shelter with God. And it is said, an orphan without like, meaning there is none like you, so he gave you shelter with him. And it is said, the meaning is, did he not find you unaware of the way and guide you, and find you in need and enrich you, and shelter you while you were an orphan, mentioning these gifts? And it is known from the science of exegesis that he did not neglect him in the state of his youth, his poverty, his orphanhood, and before people came to know him. Nor did he abandon him, nor hate him. So how could he do so after singling him out and choosing him? The sixth, his command to proclaim his blessing upon him, and to give thanks for what he ennobled him with, and to make mention of that. Thus he, exalted is he, said, and as for your sustainer's blessing, proclaim it. 93:11. Whoever thanks for a blessing by speaking of it has a special quality granted him, and yet this is also general for his community. And God, exalted is he, said, by the star when it falls, your companion has not strayed, nor has he erred, and he does not speak out of desire. It is but a revelation revealed, taught him by one mighty in power, endowed with soundness, who rose and stood firm while he was on the highest horizon. 53. Then he drew near and came closer, until he was at a distance of 2 bow-lengths, or nearer. And so he revealed to his servant what he revealed. The heart did not lie about what it saw. Will you then dispute with him about what he sees? And indeed he saw him in another descent by the lote tree of the furthest boundary, near which is the garden of abode, when there covered the lote tree that which covered it. The sight did not swerve, nor did it transgress. Indeed, he saw among the greatest signs of his sustainer. 53, 8-18. The exegetes have differed regarding his saying, "Exalted is he," by the star, by well-known interpretations, among them the star as it is outwardly, and among them the Qur'an. And from Ja'far ibn Muhammad, "It is Muhammad, upon him be peace." And he said, "It is the heart of Muhammad." And it has been said regarding his saying, "Exalted is he, by the heaven and by the night-comer." And what will make you understand what the night-comer is? The piercing star. 86. The star here too is Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace, so related by Al-Sulam. These verses contain a merit whose nobility lies beyond all counting. God swore by the Most Chosen's guidance, declared him free of caprice, affirmed his truthfulness in what he recites, and that it is a revelation that God has conveyed to him by Gabriel, peace be upon him, who is mighty in power. Then he, exalted is he, told of his excellence in the story of the night journey, and of his reaching the lotus tree of the furthest boundary, and of his being true in what he saw, and of his seeing among the greatest signs of the Lord of Majesty. He alluded to this, exalted is he, in the beginning of Surat al-Isra. And when for him, upon him be peace, there was unveiled of that overwhelming realm, and of the wonders of the dominion which words cannot encompass, and which minds cannot bear to hear in full, God, exalted is he, hinted at it through allusion and through the concise phrase that points to something immense. Thus he said, "Exalted is he," and so he revealed to his servant what he revealed. 53:10. This kind of speech is what the masters of criticism and eloquence call revelatory suggestion and elusive pointing, and in their view it is among the most far-reaching gateways of concision. And God, exalted is he, said, indeed he saw among the greatest signs of his sustainer. 53:18. Understandings fall short of detailing what was revealed, and dreams are bewildered in fixing the very nature of those tremendous signs. The jurist, the judge, the Imam Abul Fadl, may God have mercy upon him, said, "These verses have contained the marks of God's informing us of the purity of his whole being. Upon him be peace, and of protecting him from slips in this earthly dwelling. Thus he purified his heart, his tongue, and his limbs. His heart by his saying, the heart did not lie about what it saw. 53:11. His tongue by his saying, and he does not speak out of desire. 53. And his sight by his saying, the sight did not swerve, nor did it transgress. 53:17. And God, exalted is he, said, so I swear by the retreating stars, those that run and hide, and by the night as it darkens, and by the morning as it breathes. Truly it is the word of a noble messenger, endowed with power, secure with him who is enthroned on high, one to be obeyed, and faithful. And your companion is not mad, and indeed he saw him on the clear horizon, and he is not withholding with regard to the unseen, and it is not the word of a cursed devil. 81:15-25. I do swear, it is an oath, meaning truly it is the word of a noble messenger. That is, noble in the sight of the one who sent him, endowed with power to convey what he carried of revelation, secure, firmly established in rank, lofty in station with him, one to be obeyed, then, that is, in the heavens, faithful regarding the revelation. Al-Ibn Absar said, and others, the noble messenger here is Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace. Thus all these descriptions return to him. Others said, it is Gabriel. Upon him be peace. So the descriptions return to him. And indeed he saw him means Muhammad. It is said he saw his Lord, and it is said he saw Gabriel in his form. and he is not withholding with regard to the unseen. It was recited with the dad, and its meaning is he is not miserly with it, and he does not begrudge calling to it and reminding of its wisdom and knowledge. And this is of Muhammad, upon him be peace, by agreement. And God exalted is he said, None, by the pen and all that they write, you are not by your sustainers' grace mad, and yours shall be a reward never ending. And indeed you are of a magnificent character. And you will see, and they will see, which of you is afflicted with madness. Surely your sustainer knows best who strays from his path, and he knows best who are rightly guided. So do not yield to those who deny the truth. They wish that you would compromise, so that they might compromise. And do not obey any contemptible swearer, a slanderer, one who goes about with malicious gossip, a withholder of good, a transgressor steeped in sin, harsh besides that, and after all that, base-born, because he has wealth and children. Whenever our messages are recited to him, he says, fables of the ancients. We shall brand him upon the snout. 68:16. God, exalted is he, swore by what he swore by, in this tremendous oath, to declare the chosen one free of what the people of abundance had ascribed to him, their denial of him, and their calling him a madman. And he made, within the very midst of what he said, the finest opening in addressing him, his saying, You are not by your sustainers' grace mad. 68. This is the utmost limit of distinction in address, and among the highest degrees of courtesy in conversation. Then he informed him of what he has with him of enduring blessings and a reward without end, that no one can take it from him, and that no one can begrudge him for it. Thus he, exalted is he, said, and yours shall be a reward never ending. 68. Then he praised him for what he bestowed on him of guidance, and he made that praise even stronger, as a further intensifying of glorification with the letters of emphasis. Thus he, exalted is he, said, and indeed you are of a magnificent character. 68. It was said, the Qur'an, and it was said, Islam, and it was said, noble disposition, and it was said, you have no concern except God. Al-Wasit said he praised him in a beautiful way for the blessings and excellence he bestowed upon him, and for that by which he singled him out over others, for he compelled him to that character. So glory be to the gentle, the generous, the one who does good in abundant giving, the one who guides to what is praiseworthy and eases toward good, then praises the doer of it and rewards him. Glory be to him. How vast his gifts, how overflowing his favours. Then he turned, after praising him, to refuting his enemy, to mentioning his vile character, and to threatening him with punishment, making all of that follow from his favour, as an act of support for his prophet and help for him. Thus he mentioned some 10 traits of blame in him, in his saying, So do not yield to those who deny the truth, and do not obey any contemptible swearer. 68:8-15. Then he sealed this with the true promise that completes his wretchedness, and the final ruin that will bring him to destruction, through his saying, We shall brand him upon the snout. 68:16. Thus God's support for him became the most perfect support for himself, and his reply, exalted is he, to his enemy became the strongest of replies, fixed for ever in the register of glory. The 6th section, concerning what has come of his saying, exalted is he, about his gentleness, as a source of compassion and honouring God. Exalted is he, said, Taha, we have not sent down the Qur'an upon you to make you distressed. 20. It was said, Taha is one of his names, upon him be peace. And it was said, it is a name of God. And it was said, its meaning is, O man. And it was said, O human being. And it was said, they are disjointed letters. Al-Wasit said he meant, O Pure One, O Guide, and it is said it is an imperative form from to tread, and ta is a symbol for the earth, meaning set your feet firmly on the earth, and do not exhaust yourself by standing on one foot. And this is his saying, exalted is he. We have not sent down the Qur'an upon you to make you distressed. 20. This verse came down regarding what the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, used to impose upon himself of sleeplessness, weariness, and night vigil. 29. The judge Abu Abdullah told us, Muhammad ibn Abd al-Rahman and another besides him, on the authority of the judge Abul Walad al-Baji, by authorization, and by one from the original chain. He said, Abu Dhar, the hadith master, related to us. He said, Abu Muhammad al-Khusm related to us. He said, Ibrahim ibn Khuzaym al-Shash related to us. He said, Abd ibn Humayd related to us. He said, Hashim ibn al-Qasim related to us from Abu Ja'far from al-Rabbadur ibn Anas, who said, when the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, used to pray, he would stand on one foot and raise the other. So God, exalted is he, sent down Taha, meaning, O Muhammad, place your feet on the ground. We have not sent down the Qur'an upon you to make you distressed, but only as a reminder to whoever stands in awe, a revelation from him who created the earth and the lofty heavens. 20. There is no hiding what there is in all of this of honouring and beautiful dealing. And if we take Taha to be one of his names, upon him be peace, as was said, or if we take it as an oath, then this is like what has preceded in the chapter. And a similar pattern of compassion and distinction is his saying, exalted is he. So perhaps you will consume yourself with grief because they do not believe in this discourse. 18. Meaning you may destroy yourself on their account, out of anger or distress or sorrow. And like it is his saying, exalted is he. So perhaps you will consume yourself because they will not be believers. 26. Then, if we willed, we could send down to them from the heaven a sign so that their necks would remain humbled before it. 26. And among this chapter is his saying, exalted is he. Proclaim openly what you are commanded, and turn away from those who associate partners with God. Surely we are enough for you against those who mock, those who set up another deity alongside God. They will come to know. And we know indeed that your breast is distressed by what they say. 15:94-97. And his saying, exalted is he, messengers before you were mocked, and those who mocked them were engulfed by what they used to ridicule. 10. Maki said, God, exalted is he, consoled him by what he mentioned, and made light of what he meets from the idolaters. And he taught him that whoever persists upon that will be met by what befell those before. And like this consolation is his saying, exalted is he. And if they deny you, messengers before you were also denied. 35. And among this is his saying, exalted is he. Thus it has always been. No messenger came to those before them, but they said, a sorcerer, or a madman. 51:52. God, mighty and majestic is he, consoled him by informing him about the earlier communities and their response to their prophets before him, and their denial of them and their accusing them. He consoled him by that against what he met from the disbelievers of Makkah, and that he is not the first to have met such. Then he soothed his soul and made clear his excuse with his saying, exalted is he. So turn away from them, for you are not to be blamed. 51:54, meaning turn away from them, you are not to be blamed for what you have delivered and conveyed and carried. And like it is his saying, exalted is he, and be patient with your sustainers' judgment, for indeed you are before our eyes. 52:48, meaning, be patient, constantly, for you are where we see you and protect you. God, exalted is He, has consoled him by these and by many other verses of similar meaning. The seventh section. On what God Most High has conveyed in His mighty book concerning the greatness of His worth and His noble eminence above the prophets, and the loftiness of His station and rank, His saying, exalted is He. And when God took a covenant from the prophets, whatever I have given you of a revelation and wisdom, then if a messenger comes to you confirming the truth of what is with you, you shall believe in him, and you shall help him. He said, do you affirm and do you accept my solemn bond on these terms? They said, we do affirm. He said, then bear witness, and I am with you among the witnesses. 81. Abul Hasan al-Qabis said, God Most High singled out Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace, by a favour that he granted to none other, namely what he made clear concerning him in this verse. The exegete said, God took the covenant, confirmed by revelation, so that no prophet would be sent except that he would mention Muhammad and describe him, and that he would take his covenant. If he should live to see him, he must believe in him. And it is said that he should make it clear to his people, and that he should take their covenant, that they believe in him, for whoever comes after them. And his saying, exalted is he, then if a messenger comes to you, is an address to the people of the book who were contemporaries of Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace. 30. And Allah ibn Abi Talib, may God be pleased with him, said, God did not raise a prophet from Adam onward, except that he took from him a covenant concerning Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace, such that if Muhammad should be raised while he is still alive, he must believe in him and help him, and he must take this covenant upon his people. And similar to it has been related from Al-Sudu and from Qatada, in that it contains his excellence in more than one respect. God, exalted is he, said, and when we took from the prophets their covenant, and from you, and from Noah, and from Abraham, and from Moses, and from Jesus, son of Mary, and we took from them a solemn covenant. 33. And God, exalted is he, said, behold, we have revealed to you, as we revealed to Noah and the prophets after him. And we revealed to Abraham and Ishmael and Isaac and Jacob and the tribes and Jesus and Job and Jonah and Aaron and Solomon. And we gave David the Psalms. And messengers. We have mentioned to you before, and messengers we have not mentioned to you. And God spoke to Moses with direct speech. Messengers bearing glad tidings and warning, so that people might have no argument against God after the messengers. And God is almighty wise. Yet God bears witness to what he has bestowed upon you from on high. He has bestowed it from his own knowledge, and the angels bear witness as well, and God suffices as a witness. 163, 166, 31. And it is related from Umar ibn al-Khattab, may God be pleased with him, that he said in a speech to the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, addressing him, may my father and my mother be your ransom, O Messenger of God. Something of your excellence with God has indeed reached me, that he made you the last of the prophets, yet mentioned you among the first of them. Then he recited, and when we took from the prophets their covenant, and from you, and from Noah, and from Abraham, and from Moses, and from Jesus, son of Mary, and we took from them a solemn covenant. 33. May my father and my mother be your ransom, O Messenger of God. Something of your excellence with God has indeed reached me, that the people of the fire will call out, while they are between its layers being punished, saying, our sustainer, we obeyed our leaders and our great ones, and they led us astray from the path. Our sustainer, give them double punishment. 33:66. 32, Qatada said, "The Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, said, I was the first of the prophets in creation, and the last of them in being raised." Hence his mention occurs here before Noah and others. Al-Samarkand said, "In this there is a distinctive ordering of the prophets, peace be upon them, so that he is singled out with mention before them, even though he is the last of them. The meaning is, God Most High took the covenant from them when he brought them forth from Adam's loins like scattered particles. And God, exalted is he, said, Some of those messengers we have favoured above others. Among them are those to whom God spoke, and some he raised in degrees. And we gave Jesus, son of Mary, clear signs, and strengthened him with the Spirit of holiness. And if God had willed, those who came after them would not have fought one another after clear proofs had come to them, but they differed." 253. The people of exegesis said, "What is meant by his saying, 'and some he raised in degrees'" 253, is Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace, because he was sent to red and black alike. Lawful spoils were made permitted to him. Miracles were made manifest at his hands, and no prophet was given a distinguishing honour or gift, but that Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace, was given its like. Some of them said, part of his excellence is that God Most High addressed the prophets by their names, yet addressed him in his book with prophethood and messengership, saying, O Prophet and O Messenger. And Al-Samarkand related from Al-Kalb regarding his saying, exalted is he, and truly among those who followed his way was Abraham, 3783, that the pronoun in his way refers back to Muhammad, meaning Abraham was upon the religion and path of Muhammad. Al-Farra allowed this reading, and Makki related it from him. And it is also said, the one intended there is Noah, peace be upon him. The 8th section. On God Most High, informing his creation of his blessing upon him, and of his protecting him, and of his removing punishment because of him, God, exalted is he, said, but God would not punish them while you were in their midst. 833. That is, so long as you were in Makkah. And when the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, departed from Makkah, there remained among them a group of believers, and then it came down. Nor would God punish them while they seek forgiveness. 833. And like this is his saying, if they had separated from one another, we would surely have punished those of them who persisted in unbelief with painful suffering. 48:25. And his saying, exalted is he. And if it were not for believing men and believing women whom you did not know, lest you might trample them and thus incur guilt on their account without knowing, it was thus so that God might admit into his mercy whom he wills. 48:25. And when the believers migrated, it came down. And why should God not punish them? 834. And this is among the clearest indications of his rank. May God bless him and grant him peace. Thus punishment was repelled from the people of Makkah because of his presence among them. Then, after him, because of the presence of his companions among them. And when Makkah was cleansed of them, and God empowered the believers over them, and made them prevail, and placed their swords in judgment among them, then the believers inherited their land, their homes, and their wealth. And in the verse there is yet another interpretation. 33. The judge, the martyr Abu Ali, may God have mercy upon him, related to us by my reading to him. He said, Abul Fadl ibn Khayrun related to us, and Abu Hussein al-Sighrabi as well. They said, Abu Ya'la ibn Duj al-Harra related to us. He said, Abu Ali al-Sanj related to us. He said, Muhammad ibn Mahbub al-Muzuz related to us. He said, Abu Asa, the hadith master, related to us. He said, Sufyan ibn Waqar related to us. He said, Ibn Numayr related to us, from Ismail ibn Ibrahim ibn Muhajir, from Abbad ibn Yusuf, from Abu Burda ibn Abu Musa, from his father, who said, God's messenger, may God bless him and grant him peace, said, God sent down to me 2 safeguards for my community. But God would not punish them while you are in their midst, nor would God punish them while they seek forgiveness. 8:33. So when I depart, I leave seeking forgiveness among them until the day of resurrection. And similar to it is his saying, Exalted is he. And we have not sent you except as a mercy to all the worlds. 21:107. 34. And he, upon him be peace, said, I am a safeguard for my companions. It was said, meaning from innovation. And it was said, from discord and trials. Some of them said, God's messenger, may God bless him and grant him peace, is the greatest safeguard so long as he lives, and so long as his sunnah remains among the community, it endures. But when his sunnah dies out, expect trials and afflictions. And God, exalted is he, said, Behold, God and his angels bless the prophet. O you who have attained faith, invoke blessings upon him and greet him with peace. 33:56. God Most High has made clear the excellence of his prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, by his blessing upon him, then by the blessing of his angels, then by commanding his servants to bless him and greet him with peace. 35. And Abu Bakr ibn Furak related that some scholars interpreted his saying, Upon him be peace, and the delight of my eyes was placed in prayer, as meaning, in God Most High's blessing upon me and his angels' blessing, and in my community's being commanded to do so until the day of resurrection, and in the angels' blessing upon me and ours as supplication, and from God, mighty and majestic, his mercy. And it is said, they bless means they bestow blessing. And the prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, distinguished in the matter of blessing upon him between the expression prayer and the expression blessing. And we shall mention later the ruling concerning invoking blessings upon him. And some theologians mentioned in explaining the letters Kaf Ha Ya Ain Saad 19 that the Kaf is from sufficing, that is, God Most High's sufficiency for his prophet. Thus he, exalted is he, said, Is not God sufficient for his servant? 39:36. And the Ha is his guidance in his saying, and he will guide you to a straight path. 48. And the Ya is his strengthening him, in his saying, he it is who supported you with his help. 8:62. And the Ain is his protection, in his saying, and God will protect you from people. 67. And the Sad is his blessing upon him, in his saying, Behold, God and his angels bless the prophet. 33:56. And God, exalted is he, said, And if the two of you should back one another against him, then behold, God is his protector, and Gabriel and the righteous among the believers, and the angels thereafter are his supporters. 66. His saying, his protector means his ally, and the righteous among the believers. It was said, the prophets, and it was said, the angels, and it was said, Abu Bakr and Umar, and it was said, and it was said, the believers outwardly. The 9th section. On what Surat al-Fath contains of his honour and exaltation, God, exalted is he, said, Truly we have granted you a clear victory, so that God may forgive you what preceded of your sin and what will follow, and so that he may complete his blessing upon you and guide you on a straight path and help you with a mighty help. He it is who sent down tranquillity into the hearts of the believers, so that they might grow yet more firm in faith. And to God belong the hosts of the heavens and the earth, and God is all-knowing, wise, so that he may admit believing men and believing women into gardens through which running waters flow, therein to abide, and so that he may efface their bad deeds. And that is, in God's sight, a tremendous triumph, and so that he may punish the hypocrite men and hypocrite women, and the associating men and associating women, those who think evil thoughts about God. Upon them shall be the evil turn of fate, and God's condemnation is upon them, and he has cast them away, and has readied hell for them, and how evil a journey's end. And to God belong the hosts of the heavens and the earth, and God is almighty, wise. Truly we have sent you as a witness, and as a bearer of glad tidings, and as a warner, so that you may believe in God and his messenger, and support him, and revere him, and glorify him morning and evening. Behold, those who pledge their allegiance to you are but pledging allegiance to God. God's hand is over their hands. 48:10. These verses contain, of his excellence of praise for him, of a noble station with God Most High, and of blessings with him, what no description can fully reach. So begin, may he be glorified, by what he has made known, the clear decree by which he was given victory through his coming forth, and his triumph over his enemy, and the exaltation of his word, and his law, and that he is forgiven, not taken to task for what was and what will be. Some of them said he meant forgiveness for what occurred and for what did not occur, meaning you are forgiven. Maki said, God made the community a cause for forgiveness, and everyone with him has it only through him, favour after favour, and grace after grace. Then he, exalted is he, said, and so that he may complete his blessing upon you. 48. It was said by the submission of the great ones who had been proud of you, and it was said by the conquest of Makkah and Al-Ta'if. And it was said, he raises your renown in this world, helps you and forgives for you. Thus he made him know the completion of his blessing upon him through the submission of his proud enemies to him, and through the people of the land opening to him and loving him, and through raising his renown, and through guiding him to the straight path that leads to the garden and felicity, and through helping him with mighty help, and through his favour upon his community of believers with the tranquillity and reassurance he placed in their hearts, and through the glad tidings he gave them of what lies ahead for them, and through forgiveness for them and the covering of their sins, and through destroying their enemies in this world and the next, and keeping them far from his mercy, and through the wretchedness of their end. Then he, exalted is he, said, Truly, we have sent you as a witness, and as a bearer of glad tidings, and as a warner. 48:8-9. Indeed, the verse is beautiful in meaning. Among its distinctive gifts is his bearing witness over his community by conveying the message to them. And it was said, a witness for them to the oneness of God, and a bearer of glad tidings to the community of reward. And it was said, with forgiveness, and a warner, an announcer of punishment. And it was said, a warner against error for whoever believes in God, then by him for whoever was preceded by God's good favour, and support him, that is, help him. And it was said, magnify him, and revere him, that is, exalt him. Some recited it, you shall support him, with two zays, from strength. But the more common and clearer reading is that it refers to Muhammad's right. May God bless him and grant him peace. Then he said, and glorify him. This goes back to God Most High. Ibn Atta said, in this surah diverse blessings were gathered for the Prophet. May God bless him and grant him peace. Among them the manifest conquest. Among them the signs of acceptance. Among them forgiveness, and among them the signs of love, and the completion of blessing, and the signs of being singled out, and guidance, and the signs of divine friendship. So forgiveness is freedom from defects. The completion of blessing is reaching the perfect degree, and guidance is the call to direct witnessing. And Ja'far ibn Muhammad said, "Among the completion of his blessing upon him is that he made him his beloved, and swore by his life, and set a law for him unlike any other, and raised him up by him to the highest station, and guarded him in the ascension until his sight did not swerve nor transgress, and sent him to red and black alike, and made lawful for him the spoils, and made him the best of Adam's children, and the intercessor of true intercession, and joined his mention to his own, and joined his pleasure to his pleasure, and made him one of the two pillars of God's oneness. Then God, exalted is he, said, Behold, those who pledge their allegiance to you are but pledging allegiance to God. God's hand is over their hands. 48:10. Meaning the pledge of Ridwan, namely, they are but pledging allegiance to God by their pledge to you. In other words, God is the one who receives their pledge by your hands. God's hand is over their hands was said to mean, at the moment of the pledge. It was said, God's power, and it was said, his reward, and it was said, his favour, and it was said, his covenant. This is a metaphor and a figurative turn of phrase, and an emphatic strengthening of the covenant they pledged to him and of the greatness of the pledge-taker's station. May God bless him and grant him peace. And it may be that this is from his saying, Exalted is he. You did not slay them, but God slew them, and it was not you who threw when you threw, but God threw. 8:17. Even if the first is by way of metaphor, this is, in truth, by the door of reality. For the slayer and the thrower in reality is God. He is the creator of the act and its casting, and of his power over it and its cause. And because human capacity is not sufficient to bring that casting to where it reached, until it left none among them whose eye it did not fill. Thus the killing of the angels too is likewise a reality for them. And it has also been said about this other verse, that it is in the manner of an Arabic metaphor, with a correspondence of wording and suited context, meaning, you did not truly kill them, and it was not truly you who threw when you threw dust and sand in their faces. Rather, it was God who cast fear into their hearts by panic. That is, the benefit of that casting was from God's act. Thus, in meaning, God is the slayer and the thrower, while you are the slayer and the thrower in name. The 10th section. On what God Most High has made manifest in his mighty book of his honour, his station with him, and what he singled him out with beyond what was already mentioned. Among this is what he, exalted is he, has set forth of the story of the night journey in Surat Glory be to him, and what the narrative enfolds of his exalted station and closeness, and his beholding of what he beheld of wonders. And among it is his protection from people through his saying, Exalted is he, and God will protect you from people. 67. And his saying, Exalted is he. And when those who deny the truth were scheming against you, so that they might restrain you, or kill you, or drive you out, they schemed, and God is the best of schemers. 8:30. And his saying, If you do not help him, God has already helped him, when those who denied the truth drove him out, one of two, when the two were in the cave. And he said to his companion, Do not grieve, God is with us. Thereupon God sent down his tranquillity upon him, and strengthened him with hosts you did not see, and made the word of those who denied the truth the lowest, whereas God's word is the highest, and God is almighty, wise. 9:40. And what God repelled from him in this story, after they had come close to destroying him and dispatching him, of perplexity in their affair, and blinding their sight at their departure against him, and diverting them from seeking him, and what became manifest therein of signs, and the descent of tranquillity upon him in the cave. 36. And the story of Suraka ibn Malik, according to what the scholars of hadith and biography have mentioned. 37. And in the story of the cave. 38. And the report of the migration. And among it is his saying, Exalted is he. Truly we have granted you abundance, so pray to your sustainer and sacrifice. Truly it is the one who hates you who is cut off. 108. God, mighty and majestic, is he knows best what he has given him, and abundance is his pool. And it was said, a river in paradise. And it was said, abundant good. And it was said, intercession. And it was said, many miracles. And it was said, prophethood. And it was said, direct knowledge of God. Then he answered his enemy, and his words came down upon him. Thus he, exalted is he, said, Truly it is the one who hates you who is cut off. 108. That is, your enemy and the one who despises you. Cut off means abased, lowly, humiliated, or solitary and alone, or one in whom there is no good. And God, exalted is he, said, And indeed we have bestowed upon you 7 of the oft-repeated and the magnificent Qur'an. 1587. It was said the 7 oft-repeated are the long surahs of the beginning, and the magnificent Qur'an is the mother of the Qur'an. And it was said the 7 oft-repeated are the mother of the Qur'an, and the magnificent Qur'an is the rest of it. And it was said the 7 oft-repeated are what is in the Qur'an of command and prohibition, and of glad tidings and warning, and of parables struck, and of blessings enumerated. And the magnificent Qur'an is what was bestowed upon you beyond that. And it was said it was called the mother of the Qur'an, oft repeated, because it is repeated in every cycle of prayer. And it was said, rather God. The 7th section, on what God Most High has conveyed in his mighty book concerning the greatness of his worth and his noble eminence above the prophets, and the loftiness of his station and rank. His saying, Exalted is he. And when God took a covenant from the prophets, Whatever I have given you of a revelation and wisdom, then if a messenger comes to you confirming the truth of what is with you, you shall believe in him and you shall help him. He said, Do you affirm and do you accept my solemn bond on these terms? They said, We do affirm. He said, Then bear witness, and I am with you among the witnesses. 81. Abul Hasan al-Kabish said, God Most High singled out Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace, by a favour that he granted to none other, namely what he made clear concerning him in this verse. The exegetes said, God took the covenant, confirmed by revelation, so that no prophet would be sent except that he would mention Muhammad and describe him, and that he would take his covenant. If he should live to see him, he must believe in him. And it is said that he should make it clear to his people, and that he should take their covenant that they believe in him, for whoever comes after them. And his saying, Exalted is he, then if a messenger comes to you, is an address to the people of the book, who were contemporaries of Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace. 30. And ibn Abi Talib, may God be pleased with him, said, God did not raise a prophet from Adam onward, except that he took from him a covenant concerning Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace, such that if Muhammad should be raised while he is still alive, he must believe in him and help him, and he must take this covenant upon his people. And similar to it has been related from Al-Sud and from Qatada. in that it contains his excellence in more than one respect. God, exalted is he, said, "And when we took from the prophets their covenant, and from you, and from Noah, and from Abraham, and from Moses, and from Jesus, son of Mary, and we took from them a solemn covenant." 33. God Most High singled these out for Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace, and reserved them for him, to the exclusion of the rest of the prophets. And the Qur'an was called the oft-repeated, because the narratives are told again and again within it. And it has been said, the 7 oft-repeated means, we have ennobled you with 7 bestowals of honour, guidance, prophethood, mercy, intercession, divine friendship, exaltation, and serenity. And he, exalted is he, says, "And we have bestowed this reminder from on high upon you, so that you may make clear unto mankind all that has been sent down for them, and that they might reflect." 1644. And he says, "And we have not sent you except as a message to all mankind, bearing glad tidings and warning." 34:28. And he, exalted is he, says, "Say, O mankind, truly I am God's messenger unto all of you, he unto whom belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth. There is no deity but he. He gives life and causes death. Believe then in God and his messenger, the unlettered prophet, who believes in God and his words, and follow him so that you may be rightly guided." 158. The jurist, the judge, may God have mercy upon him, said, "These, then, are among his distinctive gifts." And he, exalted is he, says, "And we have never sent a messenger except in the tongue of his people, so that he might make things clear unto them." 14. Thus he singled out the messengers by their peoples, whereas Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace, was sent unto all creation. 39. As he, upon him be peace, said, "I have been sent to the red and the black." And he, exalted is he, says, "The prophet has a stronger claim on the believers than they have on themselves, and his wives are their mothers." End 33. The people of exegesis said, "The prophet has a stronger claim on the believers than they have on themselves," means what he commands them is more binding upon them than what their own souls incline them to, just as a master's authority prevails over his servant. It has also been said, obeying his command takes precedence over following the soul's own opinion. And his wives are their mothers means they stand in inviolability as mothers do. It is forbidden to marry them after him, an honouring of him, and a distinction granted him, and because they are his wives in the life to come. 40. And it has been recited, "And he is a father to them." It is not recited that way today because it differs from the written codex. And God, exalted is he, says, "And God has bestowed upon you the book and wisdom, and has taught you what you did not know. And God's favour upon you is tremendous indeed." 113. It was said, "His tremendous favour is prophethood." And it was said, "It is what had been decreed for him from pre-eternity." And Al-Wasit alluded to the meaning that it is an allusion to the bearing of the vision which Moses could not bear. May God bless them both. The second chapter on God. Most High, perfecting for him the beautiful qualities, outward and inward, and on the Qur'an gathering in him all the religious and worldly excellences in a harmonious order. Know, O lover, seeking the fine detail of the majesty of this noble prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, that the qualities of beauty and perfection in humankind are of two kinds: a necessary worldly kind, demanded by one's inborn nature and by the needs of life in this world, and an acquired religious kind, by which a person is praised and by which he draws near to God Most High in nearness. they are also, in another respect, twofold. Among them is what belongs uniquely to one of the two kinds, and among them is what is interwoven and shared. As for the necessary worldly kind, what a human being has no choice in and does not acquire, it is like what lies within his inborn constitution. The completeness of his created form, the beauty of his appearance, the strength of his intellect, the soundness of his understanding, the clarity of his tongue, the vigour of his senses and limbs, the balance of his movements, the nobility of his lineage, the might of his people, and the honour of his land. And attached to it are those things without which worldly life cannot be rightly lived: food and sleep, clothing and dwelling, marriage, wealth and rank. And these traits may be joined by other worldly traits if they are directed toward God Most High and the abode of the hereafter, such as bodily strength in walking the path of goodness, kept within the bounds of due measure and within the ordinances of the sacred law. As for the acquired otherworldly traits, they are the lofty virtues and the lawful courtesies, drawn from religion, such as knowledge, forbearance, patience, gratitude, justice, renunciation, humility, pardon, chastity, generosity, courage, modesty, manliness, dignity, silence, loving affection, tenderness, good manners, gracious companionship, and their like, qualities that, taken together, are what is called beautiful character. Some of these virtues may be rooted in one's natural disposition in some people, while in others they are not present, and so they acquire them. Yet even then they must have roots in that original constitution, as will be made plain, God willing, when we speak of the roots of natural disposition and its branches. And these traits are worldly if they are not intended for the sake of God Most High and the abode of the hereafter. Yet they are, all of them, beauties and merits by the agreement of sound minds, though people differ regarding what makes them good and excellent. A section on the gathering of the qualities of beauty and perfection in our Prophet Muhammad, may God bless him and grant him peace. If these qualities of perfection and majesty are as we have described them, and we find that any one of us is distinguished, if he is agreed upon in his time, by one or two of them, whether lineage or beauty or strength or knowledge or forbearance or courage or generosity, then people magnify him for that, and set him up as an example, and acknowledge him by that description in their hearts with awe and reverence. And over ages they keep recounting his qualities, spreading reports about him. What, then, do you think of one in whom all these qualities have gathered, in a way that no one can truly encompass by speech, nor can it be attained by effort, nor reached by any stratagem, except by the singling out of the great, the Most High, from the excellences of prophethood and messengership, and intimate friendship and love, and being chosen and singled out, and the night journey, and the vision, and nearness and descent, and revelation, and intercession, and the means of approach, and surpassing merit, and the lofty degree, and the praised station, and the heavenly steed, and the ascension, and being sent to the red and the black, and the prayer of the prophets behind him, and bearing witness over the prophets and communities, and his mastery over the children of Adam, and the banner of praise, and glad tidings and warning, and the station with him who is enthroned on high, and obedience, then safety and protection, and guidance, and mercy to all the worlds, and granting him pleasure, and answering his request, and the abundance, and the hearing of supplication, and completing blessing, and pardon for what preceded and what followed, and the opening of the breast, and lifting the burden, and raising the renown, and the might of victory, and the descent of serenity, and being strengthened by angels, and being given the book and wisdom, and the 7 oft repeated, and the magnificent Qur'an, and God's choosing of the community, and calling unto God, and God's blessing, exalted is he, and the angels' blessing, and judgment among people by what God showed him, and the removal of the burden of insistence, and the lifting of shackles, and the oath by his name, and the answering of his prayer, and the speaking of inanimate things, and the amazement of the non-Arabs, and the reviving of the dead, and the making the deaf hear, and water springing from between his fingers, and the multiplying of a little, and the splitting of the moon, and the returning of the sun, and turning enemies back, and triumph through awe, and being informed of the unseen, and the shade of the cloud, and the glorifying of pebbles, and healing of pains, and protection from people, and all that no mind can contain, nor any knowledge fully encompass, besides what was prepared for him in the hereafter, abodes of honour, degrees of holiness, ranks of felicity, beauty, and increase, at which minds halt, while imagination wanders beneath their farthest reaches. A section. On his natural characteristics, may God bless him and grant him peace, if you have said, may God honour you, it is beyond dispute in some that he, may God bless him and grant him peace, is the greatest of all people in rank, the mightiest of them in station, the noblest of them, and the most complete of them in beauties and excellencies. And the details of the qualities of perfection are a beautiful expanse. My longing has led me to pause upon it, and to describe him, may God bless him and grant him peace, more fully. Know then, may God illuminate my heart and yours, and grant you and us increase in love for this noble prophet, that when you look at the qualities of perfection that are not acquired, and at the totality of his natural constitution, you will find him containing them all, surrounded by the breadth of their beauties, without dispute, among those who convey reports about him. Rather, some of them have reached the level of certainty. As for his form and beauty, and the harmony of his limbs in their comeliness, many sound and widely known reports have come concerning that. 41. From the Hadith of Al-42 and Anas ibn Malik, 43, and Abu Huraira, 44, and Al-Bara ibn Azib, 45, and Aisha, the mother of the believers, 46, and Ibn Abi Hala, 47, and Abu Juhayfa, 48, and Jabir ibn Samura, 49, and Ma'bad, 50, and Ibn Abbas, 51, and Murid ibn Muqab, 52, and Abul Tufail, 53, and Al-Ada ibn Khalid, 54, and Khuzaym ibn Thabit, 55, and Hakam ibn Hizam, and others, that he, may God bless him and grant him peace, was radiant in colour, most intense in blackness of the pupils, with long eyelashes, and so forth. 56. Al-Bara ibn Azib said, I have never seen anyone more beautiful, in a red cloak, than God's messenger. May God bless him and grant him peace. 57. And Abu Huraira, may God be pleased with him, said, I have never seen anything more beautiful than God's messenger. May God bless him and grant him peace. It was as though the sun ran in his face, and when he laughed, light shone upon the wall. 58. And Jabir ibn Samurah said, a man said to him, was his face like a sword? He said, no, rather like the sun and the moon, and it was round. 59. And Ma'bad said, in part of her description of him, the most beautiful of people from afar, and the most radiant and lovely from near. May God bless him and grant him peace abundantly, whenever those who remember him, and whenever the heedless are kept from remembering him. 60. And in the hadith of Ibn Abi Hala, his face shone like the full moon on the night of its fullness. 61. And may God be pleased with him, said in another description of him, whoever saw him suddenly stood in awe of him, and whoever mixed with him came to love him. And the second chapter, on God, Most High, perfecting for him the beautiful qualities, outward and inward, and on the Qur'an gathering in him all the religious and worldly excellences in a harmonious order. The necessary worldly qualities are as we have described. By their name people set forth examples, and by their mention hearts feel reverent awe and magnificence. And through the ages they keep repeating accounts and weaving reports. So what do you think of the greatness of the worth of one in whom all these qualities have come together, into a degree that no one can fully describe, and that no parable can truly express? A degree not reached by acquisition nor by stratagem, except through the choosing of the great, the Most High? From the excellence of prophethood and messengership, intimate friendship and love, being chosen and singled out, the night journey and the vision and nearness and descent, revelation, light, intercession, the means of approach, surpassing merit, the lofty degree, the praised station, the heavenly steed and the ascension, being sent to the red and the black, the prayer of the prophets, bearing witness among the prophets and communities, mastery over the children of Adam, the banner of praise, glad tidings and warning, the station with him who is enthroned on high, obedience to him, and then safety and protection, and guidance, and mercy to all the worlds, and the granting of contentment, the granting of his request, the abundance, the hearing of speech, completing blessing, pardon for what preceded and what followed, expanding the breast, lifting the burden, raising the renown, the might of victory, the descent of serenity, reinforcement by angels, the giving of the book and wisdom, the 7 oft-repeated, the magnificent Qur'an, the purifying and nurturing of the community, calling unto God, God's blessing, exalted is He, and the blessing of the angels, judging among people by what God showed him, lifting the burden and laying down the yoke, and other than that, things which minds cannot encompass, nor can imagination truly reach. A section on his natural characteristics. May God bless him and grant him peace you have already known. May God honour you by the sum of what has preceded, that he, may God bless him and grant him peace, is the highest of people in rank, the noblest of them, and the most complete of them in beauties and excellences. The longing to dwell on the details of the qualities of perfection, and to gather them in a beautiful fashion, has led me to pause and describe him more fully. So know, may God illumine my heart and yours, that when you consider the qualities of perfection that are not acquired, and look at the totality of his inborn constitution, you will find him encompassing them all. The reports about his beauty have come in abundance, without disagreement among those who transmit them. Rather, some have reached the level of certainty. As for his form and his beauty, and the harmony of his limbs in their comeliness, many sound, famous reports have come concerning that. Whoever came to know him through close companionship came to love him, and his describer would say, I have seen none like him, neither before him nor after him. And the reports that unfold his description are many and well known, so we shall not lengthen the recital of them. We have already been concise in describing him by mentioning some fine points from what has come down to us, and in some there is, in what we have mentioned, enough to reach the sought aim. And we shall close these sections with a comprehensive report that suffices for this purpose, God willing. A section on his purity and cleanliness, and the sweetness of his scent, his sweat, and his blood. As for the cleanness of his body, the pleasantness of his fragrance and his perspiration, and his freedom from bodily dirt and unpleasant secretions. God granted him in all this unique qualities not found in anyone else, and then he perfected it through the purity that belongs to the sacred law, and through the 10 traits of sound natural disposition. 62. And he said, religion is built upon cleanliness. 63. Sufyan ibn al-As and more than one other, related to us. They said, Ahmad ibn Omar related to us. Abul Abbas al-Raz related to us. Abu Ahmad al-Jalud related to us. Ibn Sufyan related to us. Muslim related to us. He said Qutayba related to us. Ja'far ibn Sulaiman related to us. From Thabit, from Anas, who said, I never smelled ambergris at all, nor musk at all, nor anything more fragrant than the scent of God's messenger. May God bless him and grant him peace. 64. And from Jabir ibn Samura, that he, may God bless him and grant him peace, wiped his cheek. He said, and I found in his hand coolness and a fragrance, as though he had brought it out from a perfumer's pouch. Someone else said, whoever shook hands with him or touched him without wiping his hand would continue to find his fragrance that day. And whoever placed his hand on a child's head, the child would be recognized among the children by his scent. 65. And God's messenger, may God bless him and grant him peace, slept in the house of Anas on a spread. Then he perspired, and his mother came with a flask, gathering his sweat into it. God's messenger, may God bless him and grant him peace, asked her about that, and she said, we put it into our perfume, and it is the sweetest of perfume. 66. And Al-Bukhari mentioned in his great history from Jabir, the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, would not pass along a path so that someone followed him upon it, except that he would know he had taken it by the sweetness of his scent. And Ishaq ibn Rahawai mentioned that this fragrance of his was pure and delightful. 67. And Al-Muzan related from Jabir, the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, came behind me, and I touched the seal of prophethood with my hand, and it was shining as though it were a musk pod. And some of the learned related, by way of reports and transmitted lore, that whenever he wished to relieve himself, the earth would split and swallow what fell from him. And for that reason the fragrance of his scent was spread abroad. 68. And Muhammad ibn Sa'd, scribe of Al-Waqid, transmitted in this report from Aisha, may God be pleased with her, that she said to the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, you go out to the privy, and nothing of you is ever seen. To the end. He said, O Aisha, do you not know that the earth swallows what comes out from the prophets, so nothing of it is seen? And even if this report is not widespread, people of knowledge have spoken of the purity of the two bodily outlets in this manner. It is the view of some of the Shafi'i scholars, as transmitted by the Imam Abu Nasr ibn al-Sabagh in his book Al-Shamil. And Abu Bakr ibn Sabiq al-Malik has related the two statements from the scholars regarding this in his book Al-Badi in the branches of Malik of law, and the derivations therein that did not fall to them, according to the school of the Shafis. And what bears witness to this is that nothing that came from him was ever disliked, nor was it ever anything but sweet and pure. 69. And among this is the report of Al, may God be pleased with him, who said, I washed the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, and I looked for what is found in the dead, but I found nothing. I said, you are sweet in life and sweet in death. He said, and there was a sweet fragrance from him, the like of which we have never found at all. 70. And something like this was said by Abu Bakr, may God be pleased with him, regarding the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace after his death. 71. And among this is that Malik ibn Sinan drank his blood on the day of Uhud, and he wiped it away. The Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, approved of that for him, and said, the fire shall never touch you. 72. And likewise Abdullah ibn al-Zubayr drank the blood of his cupping. The Prophet, upon him be peace, said to him, woe to you from people, and woe to people from you. And he did not censure him for it. 73. And it is related, with a similar meaning, concerning a woman who drank his urine, that he said to her, "Your stomach will never complain again." He did not command any of them to rinse out the mouth, nor did he forbid anyone from returning to such an act. And the report of the woman who drank his urine is established by Al-Daraqutni as sound, and Al-Bukhari related it in the Sahih. And the name of that woman is Baraka, and there is disagreement regarding her lineage. It is said she was Ayman. She used to serve the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, and the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, had a wooden vessel placed beneath his bed. He would urinate in it by night, and it remained there. Then he looked for it and found nothing in it. He asked Baraka about it, and she said, "I rose while I was thirsty, and I drank it, and I did not know." Her report is transmitted through Ibn Jurayj and others. 74. And he, may God bless him and grant him peace, was born circumcised, with the navel cord already cut. 75. And it is related from Ayman that she said, "I gave birth to him clean, there was no trace upon him." 76. And from Aisha, may God be pleased with her, who said, "I never saw the private parts of God's messenger, may God bless him and grant him peace, ever." 77. And from Al, may God be pleased with him, who said, "The Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, enjoined upon me that none but I should wash him, saying, no one shall look upon my nakedness except that his eyes will be blotted out." 78. And in the report of Ikrimah from Ibn Abbas, may God be pleased with him, that the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, slept until he was heard to have heavy breathing. Then he rose and prayed without performing ablution. Ikrimah said, because he, may God bless him and grant him peace, was guarded and preserved. A section on the abundance of his intellect, the keenness of his mind, the strength of his senses, the clarity of his tongue, and the balance of his movements. As for the abundance of his intellect, the sharpness of his mind, the strength of his senses, the eloquence of his tongue, the poise of his movements, and the excellence of his whole bearing, there is no doubt that he was the wisest of people and the most intelligent of them. Whoever reflects upon the way he governed the inner life of creation and their outward conditions, the public ordering of society and its private concerns, with the wonders of his comprehensive wisdom, and the originality of his conduct, and the excellence he possessed of knowledge, and the clarity of the sacred law that came from him, without prior study, without earlier practice, without reading books, will not fail to be struck by the weight of his reason, and by the piercing directness of his understanding at the first flash of insight. And this needs no further proof for its truth. Wahb ibn Munabbih said, I read 71 books, and I found in all of them that the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, was the strongest of people in intellect, and the most excellent of them in judgment. And in another narration, I found in all of them that God Most High did not bestow from the beginning of this world to its end, of intellect in its full measure, upon anyone beside a handful of sand compared to the intellect of the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace. 79. And Mujahid said, God's messenger used to see, when he stood in prayer, those behind him just as he saw those in front of him. And by this he interpreted his saying, Exalted is he, and you're turning among those who prostrate themselves. 26:219. 81. And in Al-Muwatta, from him, upon him be peace, he said, I can see you from behind my back. 82. And something like it is related from Anas ibn Malik in the two Sahih collections. 83. And from Aisha a report like it. She said, it was an increase that God willed for him in his proof and argument. 84. And in some narrations, I do indeed see from behind me just as I see what is before me. 85. And in another, I do indeed see with my sight from the nape of my neck, just as I see from before me. 86. And Bakr ibn Makhlad related from Aisha that the Prophet used to see in darkness as he sees in light. 87. And there are many sound reports concerning his seeing the angels and the devils. 88. And his performing the funeral prayer over the Negus. 89. And his describing Bait al-Maqdis to Quraysh. 90. And the Kaaba when he built his mosque. 91. And it is related of him that he used to see in the earth 11 stars. All of this is to be understood as the seeing of the eye. It is the view of Ahmad ibn Hanbal and others. Some of them held that it should be referred to knowledge, and outward appearances oppose this. Yet there is no difficulty in it. It belongs to the special endowments and distinctive qualities of the prophets. 92, as Abu Muhammad related to us, Abdullah ibn Ahmad al-Adl related to us from his book. Abu al-Hasan al-Muqra'a al-Furqan related to us. Al-Qasim, daughter of Abu Bakr, related to us from her father. Al-Sharaf Abu al-Hasan related to us. Al-Ibn Muhammad al-Hasan related to us. Muhammad ibn Sa'ad related to us. Muhammad ibn Ahmad ibn Sulaiman related to us. Muhammad ibn Marzuq related to us. Hammam related to us. Al-Hasan related to us. From Qatada, from Yahya ibn Wadhab, from Abu Huraira, from the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, who said, when God manifested himself to Moses, peace be upon him, he could see an ant upon a smooth rock on a pitch-dark night from a distance of 10 farsakhs. And it is not far-fetched, after all this, that our Prophet should be singled out with what we have mentioned in this chapter after his night journey, and after the step by which he advanced through seeing some of the greatest signs of the Lord of Majesty. Reports have indeed come that he brought down Rukana to the ground, that he was the firmest of people in strength, and that his struggle was a call unto Islam. And he wrestled Abu Rukana in the time of ignorance, and he was fierce, and he threw him down 3 times, each time by the wrestling of God's messenger. May God bless him and grant him peace. 94. Abu Huraira said, I have never seen anyone swifter in his walk than God's messenger. May God bless him and grant him peace. So much so that it was as though the earth were being folded up for him while we exerted ourselves to the utmost, and he was not strained. 95. And in his description, his laughter was a smile. When he turned with his whole body, and when he walked with purpose, as though he were descending a slope. A section on the eloquence of his tongue and the power of his speech. As for the clarity of his tongue and the eloquence of his speech, he, may God bless him and grant him peace, possessed therein the most excellent station and the highest rank, such that none could match him. There was in him a natural sweetness of expression, a daring readiness, and a concise force, soundness of utterance, weightiness of statement, and correctness of meaning, little affectation. And he was granted. He was granted the comprehensive, all-gathering speech. He was singled out with the marvels of wisdom. He was taught the language of the Arabs. He addressed every community in its own tongue. He conversed with them in their speech and managed their affairs in their dialect, until many of his companions would ask him at times, and not in others, to explain his words and interpret his meaning. Whoever reflects on his reports and his conduct comes to know this and to verify it. For his speech is not like the speech of Quraysh and the helpers, nor like the speech of the people of the Hijaz and Najd. It is like his speech with Dhul Shi'ar al-Hamdan, and with Tufail ibn Zahr al-Nahdi, and with Qutn ibn Haritha al-Ulaym, and with al-Ashath ibn Qais, and with Wail ibn Hujr al-Kind, and with others among the chiefs of Hadramaut, and the kings of Yemen. 96. Look, for instance, at his letter to Hamdan. In it you will find its rugged highlands, and its low plains, its rough tracts, and its easy grounds. You will eat its greens and pasture where it is found, and you will drink from its waters. Upon us is sincerity, and upon you is faithfulness. And with you are the Qalb, the Nab, the Fasul, the Arid, the Dajin, the great Hur, and with them the Salih and the Qari. 97. And his saying to Nahd, O God, bless them in their milking and in what they milk, and bless them in their measure and in what they measure. And send among them shepherds in abundance, and make plenty spring forth for them in its full flow, and bless them in wealth and children. Whoever establishes the prayer is a Muslim. Whoever gives the alms is a doer of good. And whoever bears witness that there is no deity but God, sincerely, then for you, O Banu Nadd, is the repelling of harm, and for the king the returning of what was seized. Do not mix in alms, do not be stubborn in claiming life, and do not neglect the prayers. And he wrote to them, In the fixed due that is made obligatory, and in your injured and afflicted, and in the crippled mount and the weak foal, let no judgment of yours prevent you, and let not your giving be begrudged. Let no one's due be withheld, and let not your livestock be penned back. And do not take bribes, and do not deem permissible what you have not deemed forbidden. Whoever is entrusted, let him fulfill the trust by covenant and by protection, and whoever commits usury, then treat it as usury. 98. And from his letter to Wa'il ibn Hujr, to the heedless chieftains and the dignitaries and the allied leaders, and within it, in easy-goingness there is no place for despair, and there is no narrowness for you, and the most beautiful countenance appears in the Tawbah bearer. Whoever of you sows seeds, let him put them in, and water them, and harvest them wholly, and whoever of you is struck with pebbles, let him be stoned. And there is to be no wavering in religion, and no obscurity in God's obligations. And God's obligations, every intoxicant is forbidden, and Wa'il ibn Hujr presides over the chieftains. 99. Where is this in Anas's letter about the famous alms? This is their speech at this boundary, their eloquence on this pattern, and the abundance with which they use these very expressions with them, so that he might make clear to people what had been sent down to them, and so that he might speak to people in what they understand. 100. And his saying in the hadith of Atiyah al-Sa'd, The upper hand is the giving hand, and the lower hand is the taking hand. He said, thus God's messenger, may God bless him and grant him peace, addressed us with what suited our understanding. 101. And his saying in the report of Al-Amir, when he asked him, Ask about it. That is, ask whatever you wish. This is in the language of Banu Amir. As for his well-known speech, and the clarity of his expression, and the comprehensiveness of his words, and his transmitted wisdom, people have compiled books around it, and collected its expressions and meanings into volumes, among them what no eloquence can match, and no rhetoric can rival. 102. As his saying, The Muslims are equal in their blood. The least of them may grant protection on behalf of them, and they are one hand against all others. 103. And his saying, People are like combed teeth. 104. And a person is with the one he loves. 105. And no good is there in the company of one who does not see for you what you see for him. 106. And people are minds. 107. And a person is only ruined by not knowing his own worth. 108. And one who seeks counsel is entrusted, and he who is given a choice has not spoken until he has spoken. 109. And May God have mercy on a servant who says what is good and thus gains, or keeps silent and thus is safe. 110. And his saying, Submit, and you shall be safe, and submit, and God will grant you a double reward. 111. And the dearest of you to me, and the nearest of you to me, in sitting with me on the day of resurrection, are those among you who are best in character, those who are gentle and easy, those who draw close and are drawn close to. 112. And his saying, A person's fault is that he speaks of what does not concern him, and that he withholds what does not diminish him. 113. And his saying, The two-faced, he will have no face with God. 114. And he forbade. They say, It is said, and so said, and asking too much, and wasting wealth, and he said, and she said, and disobedience to mothers, and burying daughters alive. 115. And his saying, Be mindful of God wherever you are. Follow up a bad deed with a good one, and it will wipe it out. And deal with people with beautiful character. 116. And his saying, The best of matters are those that are in the middle. 117. And his saying, Love the one you love with moderation. Perhaps one day he will be hateful to you. 118. And his saying, Injustice is layers of darkness on the day of resurrection. 119. And his words in one of his supplications, O God, I ask you for mercy from your presence. By it you guide my heart, and gather my affair, and mend my rift. By it you make my unseen sound, and raise my visible state, and purify my deeds, and inspire me to right guidance, and turn back to me my safety, and make me rich, and protect me from every evil. O God, I ask you for triumph in judgment, and the stations of the martyrs, and the life of the blessed, and victory over enemies. Whoever looks into all that is sufficient of his sayings and discourses, his sermons and speeches, his supplications, his addresses and his covenants, will find beyond doubt that he reached in this a rank beyond measure. None is compared to him, and none can attain what he attained. He brought together in his speech what no one has ever gathered, and no one was able to bring forth its like. 120, as his saying, The battle has grown fierce. 121, and he died a natural death. 122, and a believer is not stung from the same hole twice. 123, and the Blessed One is he who is admonished by the fate of others. In these and their like, the discerning observer perceives an astonishing subtlety in their meaning, and the mind is carried away by their minimal wording and the depth of their judgment. 124. And his companions once said to him, What we see of our Lord is clearer than you. So he said, What can I do? The Qur'an was only sent down in my tongue, an Arabic tongue, clear. 125. And he said another time, I am the most eloquent of the Arabs. My father is from Quraysh, and I was raised among Banu Sa'd. Thus for him God gathered the strength of the desert tongue and its vigour, the soundness of city expressions and their polish and gentleness. Then beyond all that, the divine support extended by revelation, whose knowledge no human being can encompass. 126. And from his sayings, Let no one among you see for you what you see for him. 127. And people are minds. 128. And what destroys a person is not knowing his own worth. 129. And the one who seeks counsel is entrusted, and he who is given a choice has not spoken until he has spoken. 130. And my companion is my close friend. 131. And he died a natural death. 132. And a believer is not stung from the same hole twice. 133. And the Blessed One is he who is admonished by the fate of others. 134. And some of his companions once said to him, What, haven't seen anyone more eloquent than you? So he said, The Qur'an was only sent down in my tongue, an Arabic tongue, clear. 135. And he said another time, I am the most eloquent of the Arabs. My father is from Quraysh, and I was raised among Banu Sa'd. Thus, for him, God gathered the strength of the desert tongue and its vigour, the soundness of the tongue of the towns and its smoothness, and the refinement of their speech, along with the divine support extended by revelation, whose knowledge no human being can compass. 126. Marbad said, describing him, sweet in speech, clear and distinct, neither scant nor rambling, his words were like pearls strung in perfect order. His voice was full and resonant, his cadence beautiful. May God bless him and grant him peace. Section A's for the nobility of his lineage, may God bless him and grant him peace, and the honour of his homeland and his upbringing. This is something that needs no proof to be set up for it, nor any obscurity to be clarified, nor any hidden aspect to be uncovered. For he is the chosen essence of the Banu Hashim, the pearl of Quraysh, and its very core, the most noble of the Arabs and the greatest of them in strength of kin, both through his father and his mother. And he is of the people of Makkah, among the most honoured of God's lands, in the sight of God and in the sight of his servants. 127. The chief judge, Hussein ibn Muhammad al-Sadaf, may God have mercy on him, narrated to us. He said, the judge, Abu al-Walad Sulaiman ibn Khalaf, narrated to us. Abu Dar Abd ibn Ahmad narrated to us. Abu Muhammad al-Tustar, Abu Ishaq, and Abu al-Haytham narrated to us. They said, Muhammad ibn Yusuf narrated to us. He said, Qutaybah ibn Sa'id narrated to us. He said, Yaqub ibn Abd al-Rahman narrated to us, from Amr, from Sa'd al-Maqbur, from Abu Huraira, that the Messenger of God, may God bless him and grant him peace, said, I was sent from among the best generations of the children of Adam, generation after generation, until I came to be in the generation in which I was. 128. And from Al-Abbas he said, the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, said, God Most High created creation and placed me among the best of them, among the best of their generations. Then he chose among the tribes and placed me among the best tribe. Then he chose among the households and placed me among the best household. Thus I am the best of them in person, and the best of them in household. 129. And from Wathila ibn al-Asqar, he said, the messenger of God, may God bless him and grant him peace, said, God chose Ismail from among the descendants of Ibrahim, and he chose Banu Kinana from among the descendants of Ismail, and he chose Quraysh from among Banu Kinana, and he chose Banu Hashim from among Quraysh, and he chose me from among Banu Hashim. Al-Tirmidhi said, this hadath is good and sound. 130. And in a hadath from Ibn Umar, narrated by Al-Tabaran, it is reported that he, may God bless him and grant him peace, said, God chose his creation, and from them he chose the children of Adam. Then he chose from the children of Adam the Arabs. Then he chose from the Arabs Quraysh. Then he chose from Quraysh the Banu Hashim. Then he chose me from among them. Thus I have never ceased to be a choice from among choices. Truly, whoever loves the Arabs, it is out of love for me that he loves them. And whoever hates the Arabs, it is out of hate for me that he hates them. 131. And from Ibn Abbas, that the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, his spirit was a light before God Most High, before Adam was created by 2,000 years. That light was glorifying God, and the angels were glorifying God through its glorification. Then, when God created Adam, he cast that light into his loins. The messenger of God, may God bless him and grant him peace, said, So God brought me down to the earth within the loins of Adam, and he placed me within the loins of Nuh, and he cast me into the loins of Ibrahim. Then God Most High did not cease to move me through noble loins and pure wombs, until he brought me forth from between my two parents, who never met upon any act of fornication, ever. And bearing witness to the soundness of this report is the well-known poem of Al-Abbas in praise of the Prophet. May God bless him and grant him peace. Section A is for that which the necessities of life call one to, of what we have set forth. Then it falls into three kinds: a kind whose excellence lies in having little, a kind whose excellence lies in having much, and a kind in which circumstances differ. Now, as for that wherein praise and perfection lie, by common agreement, and in every case by custom and by law, in having little, such as food and sleep, the Arabs and the wise have never ceased to praise the smallness of both, and to blame their excess. For abundance in eating and drinking is a sign of greed, avarice, and ravenous appetite. It strengthens the domination of desire. It brings about harms in this world and the next. It draws bodily ailments in its wake, drains the soul of its true gain, and fills the brain to heaviness. And having little is a sign of contentment, mastery over the self, and the curbing of desire. It is a cause of well-being, clarity of thought, and sharpness of mind. Just as abundant sleep is a sign of feebleness and weakness, and of a lack of intelligence and discernment. It breeds laziness, becomes a habit of incapacity, wastes one's lifetime with no benefit, and leads to hardness of heart, heedlessness, and its death. The proof of this is what is known by necessity, witnessed plainly, and transmitted with recurrent certainty in the discourse of earlier nations, the sayings of ancient sages, the poetry and reports of the Arabs, the sound prophetic traditions, and the traces left by those who came before and those who came after, matters that need no further citation. We have only refrained from mentioning them here for brevity, and because this knowledge is widely recognized. And the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, took of these two littles the least. This is something that cannot be denied from his life story. It is what he commanded and urged, especially since each of the two is bound to the other. 132. Abu al-Sadaf, the Hafiz, narrated to us by my reading to him. He said, Abu al-Fadl al-Asbahan narrated to us. He said, Abu Nu'aym, the Hafiz, narrated to us. He said, Sulaiman ibn Ahmad narrated to us. He said, Bakr ibn Sahal narrated to us. He said, Abdullah ibn Salih narrated to us. He said, Muawiyah ibn Salih related to me that Yahya ibn Jabir related to him from Al-Miqdam ibn Ma'd-Karib that the Messenger of God, may God bless him and grant him peace, said, The son of Adam fills no vessel worse than his belly. It is enough for the son of Adam to take a few mouthfuls that keep his back upright. But if he must, then a third for his food, a third for his drink, and a third for his breath. For abundant sleep arises from abundant eating and drinking. Sufyan al-Thawr said, By little food one comes to possess the night's wakefulness. And one of the early righteous said, Do not eat much, lest you drink much. And do not drink much, lest you sleep much. And do not sleep much, lest you lose much. 133. And it has been related of him, may God bless him and grant him peace, that the food he loved most was that which was eaten in close company, that is, where many hands partake. 134. And from Aisha, may God be pleased with her, the belly of the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, was never filled with satiety ever. And among his household he would not ask them for food, nor crave it. If they fed him, he ate, and whatever they gave him to drink, he drank. 135. Nor is this to be challenged by the hadith of Barra and his words to her, Did I not see the cooking pot with meat in it? For perhaps the reason he asked was that he thought they believed it was not lawful for him, so he wished to make his practice clear. This is shown by the fact that when they did not present it to him, though he knew that they would not seek permission from him regarding it, he affirmed their action and made clear to them what they had not understood of his way by saying, "For her it is charity, but for us it is a gift." And among the wise sayings of Luqman, "My son, when the stomach is filled, thought falls asleep, wisdom becomes mute, and the limbs sit back from worship." And Sachnun said, "Knowledge is not fit for one who eats until he is full." 136. And in a sound hadith is his saying, may God bless him and grant him peace. As for me, I do not eat while reclining. Reclining means being settled into eating, making oneself comfortable for it, and sitting for it in a manner such as one who sits cross-legged, and the like, those postures in which the sitter leans upon what is beneath him. Whoever eats in such a posture invites appetite, and is inclined to take more. 137. The Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace. Rather, when he sat to eat, it was the sitting of one poised and ready, crouched on his haunches. 138. And he would say, I am only a servant. I eat as a servant eats, and I sit as a servant sits. And the meaning of reclining in the hadith, according to the careful scholars, is not leaning upon one side. In the same way, his sleep, may God bless him and grant him peace, was little. The authentic reports bear witness to that. 139. Yet with all this he, may God bless him and grant him peace, said, my eyes sleep, but my heart does not sleep. 140. And his sleep would be on his right side, seeking support for little sleep. For the left side is more restful, because the heart and the inner organs incline toward the left, and this invites heaviness and prolonged repose. But when one sleeps on the right side, the heart is unsettled and alert. Waking comes sooner, and deep immersion does not take hold. The second kind is that wherein praise lies in abundance, and wherein one takes pride in plentifulness, such as marriage and striving. As for marriage, its excellence is agreed upon in law and in custom. It is a sign of completeness and sound manliness. People have long taken pride in plentiful marriage as a known habit, and praised it as a path trodden from old. 141. As for the law, its sunnah is well attested. Ibn Abbas said, the best of this community is the one with the most wives, indicating thereby what the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, pointed to. 142. And he, peace and blessings be upon him, said, marry and bring forth children, for I will take pride through you before the nations on the day of resurrection. 143. And he forbade celibacy, even though it contains the curbing of desire and the lowering of the gaze, both of which he urged, may God bless him and grant him peace, saying, 144, whoever has the means, let him marry, for it is more effective in lowering the gaze and more safeguarding of chastity. So much so that the scholars did not see in it anything that would blemish true detachment. Sahl ibn Abdullah said, this was made beloved to the master of the messengers, so how could one renounce it? And words to the same effect are related from Ibn Uyayna. And many of the companions who were devoted to renunciation had many wives and concubines and much marriage. This was narrated regarding Ali al-Hasan, Ibn Umar, and others besides more than once. And more than one of them disliked the idea of meeting God unmarried. If you say, how can marriage and much of it be among virtues, when this is Yahya ibn Zakaria, peace be upon him, whom God Most High praised as being chaste? 39. How could God commend by praise an inability regarding what you count as a virtue? And this is Sa ibn Maryam, peace be upon him, who lived in abstention from women. If matters were as has been stated, would he not have married? Know then that God's praising Yahya, peace be upon him, as being chaste, is not, as some have said, that he was timid or that he had no male organ. Indeed, the keen-sighted among the exegetes and the discerning critics among the scholars rejected this and said, "This is a defect and a blemish, and it does not befit the prophets. Rather, its meaning is that he was protected from sins, meaning he did not commit them, as though he were held back from them. And it was said he restrained himself from desires. And it was said he had no desire for women. From all this it becomes clear to you that the inability to marry is a deficiency. The excellence lies rather in the capacity being present and then being mastered and restrained, either by spiritual struggle, as with Sa, peace be upon him, or by sufficiency from God Most High, as with Yahya, peace be upon him, an added virtue, since it is an occupation that preoccupies much of one's time and draws one toward the world. Then, for the one who is able, who possesses mastery, who fulfills what is due within it, and whom it does not distract from his Lord, it is an exalted rank. Such is the rank of our Prophet Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace, whom the multitude of his wives did not distract from the worship of his Lord. Rather, it increased him in worship, through caring for them in their particular needs, fulfilling their rights, providing for them, and guiding them. Indeed, it is established that they were not part of the worldly portion for him, even if they are the worldly portion for others. 145. Thus he said, "From your worldly life there have been made beloved to me." This indicates that his love for what he mentioned, women and perfume, though they belong to the worldly sphere for others, and his making use of them was not for the sake of the world, but for the sake of the hereafter, for the benefits we have mentioned regarding marriage, and for meeting the angels in the state of fragrance, and also because fragrance is among what encourages conjugal union, strengthens one for it, and sets its causes in motion. His love for these two qualities, then, was for a purpose beyond them, together with the curbing of his desire. But his true love, belonging uniquely to his very being, lay in beholding the majesty of his Lord and conversing with him in intimate prayer. Hence he distinguished between the two qualities and separated the two states. 146. So he said, "And the comfort of my eye has been placed in prayer." Thus he was like Yahya and Sa in sufficiency and freedom from need, yet he surpassed them in virtue by fulfilling these duties. And the Prophet, may God bless him and grant him peace, was among those granted the greatest strength in this matter, and given much of it. For this reason he was permitted a number of free wives that was not permitted to anyone else. 147. And it has been narrated from Anas that he, may God bless him and grant him peace, would go around to his wives within a single hour of the night and the day, and they were 11. Anas said, "And we used to say among ourselves that he had been given the strength of 30 men. Al-Nasr recorded it. 148. And something similar was narrated from Abu Rafi, and from Tawus. He, peace be upon him, was given the strength of 40 men in conjugal union, and likewise from Safwan ibn Sulaim.